Now we're ready.
Okay, we'll open this meeting of December 5th. December already. Woo-hoo! 2013, let the record show that all selectmen are present.
Oh, I know. Yes.
We have a little bit of change in the schedule.
Gotta go find my red folder.
Okay.
I'll get it.
We are going to entertain a motion for non-public to go over personnel, and part of the non-public is going to be a attorney-client discussion because it's the union negotiations.
So we
I
would
will-
actually adjourn the meeting for that.
So the first part of it will adjourn the meeting, and then we'll go right into the non-public for personnel.
I move to adjourn.
Second?
Oh, let's get out of here quick.
I wouldn't have went.
Wait a minute, Joe. Make a motion that we enter into non-public as per RSA 91A:3, personnel.
Second?
Roll call vote?
Yes.
Yes, yes. And we will adjourn after the non-public for attorney-client. Okay.
Okay, so the citizens on this occasion.
Okay, we're on.
So, we are back. I make a motion that we seal the minutes of the non-public as they pertain to personnel permanently.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Citizens on this occasion does publicly recognize. The citizens do publicly recognize.
Right,
It said that the town of Tilton on this occasion does, because there's only one.
right.
But that's plural,
And that's due.
not single.
So see if she can go down and change it.
A lot of heavy breathing over there, Al. Okay, breathe away, buddy.
Let it be known that the citizens of Tilton
Okay, budget. Until Quaderi comes.
You want these back?
Yeah, those papers, that, Joe, that you just have, remember that's confidential, so make sure that those get...
I'm putting it in with my confidential police stuff.
Okay.
Like they're having a party.
We did.
Let it be known that the citizens of Tilton
Okay, so where are we at with the budget? Tim is coming up.
Yes, he is. He's on his way up right now.
Somebody's doing a hello thing. Oh. Sorry.
Somebody's what?
Nothing. I'm delirious.
Okay.
I know you always I don't know who's swearing.
Yes.
I'm like a Boy Scout.
Be prepared.
Yeah, we wanted to look at the roads and see which ones you wanted, and... Okay, Tim has a change that he wants to present on finance.
Be up in 1 minute.
Doesn't look like it's changed here, though. Oh, if you read number 1 under Tim's report, it That's what he wants to propose to change to. He hasn't actually made the change, he's waiting for us to make a decision.
Two seems like the logical thing to do.
So I just had to change the text.
Hannah, that was an excellent article you wrote a couple weeks ago.
Absolutely. I saw that.
Got it on my dining room table. I was going to bring it in and have you autograph it for me. I show it to everybody.
Okay?
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you very much. Hot off the presses.
You'll like it.
It shows the over a certain percent and under a certain percent of the year.
I did open your bottle, so whenever you want.
Oh, thank you. Okay. We read the first part of your report here on
Oh, you did?
budget. Looks like you want to take money out of the IT.
Correct. It'll be about $24,000. And that would reflect keeping two major projects for next year, which would be the implementation of the alert Tilton system, and then, which we're still working on the transition of that and the setup. And then, the second thing would be the migration of all the email and collaboration to Google Apps.
To what?
Google,
Oh, okay,
Google
yeah.
Apps, environment for government. So that would mean a difference of about $24,000. What that would give up, I believe I can handle the issues with the terminal server that I had in the budget originally, but that would mean that we would have to forego the voice over IP for the time being. But as we don't have it nailed down yet with MetroCom for what it's going to, what not only the contract and what we might get out of that is going to look like, but also just what our connectivity would be, because that's going to have a bearing on ultimately the cost of voice over IP. It's really the transport mechanism. You can have the phones, you can have the hardware, but you have to have a big enough telephone line, if you will, via the internet to be able to have enough concurrent calls, and that's what we'd be doing, using MetroCast for. And so, now, if that happens before the end of the year, if we're able to negotiate and nail down some things,
Well, I'm going to propose bringing them in for the first round of negotiations later this evening, so can we get it done before the 31st? I don't know.
right.
Hopefully, we can get it started and be done shortly thereafter, if not before.
So, there were some questions remaining as a result of that. There is an option that we have to be able to possibly provide some additional utility for the existing phone system there. Particularly the auto attendant ability to handle that. So in any event, that was one of the things. And overall, I guess my concern is that in looking at our overall budget and in looking at next year's revenues, forecasted revenues, which I'm still working on, but our revenues are going to be largely flat year to year. And that's even with the ASH credit and some other things in there. However, our municipal budget is up by about $245,000, which represents about 48 cents or so on the tax rate, 46 cents. So, this, and that's before taking the 24,000 out. So that's about 5 cents there, almost 5 cents, by making those few changes there. But it's a pretty sizable increase year to year. The good news is, this year, if you were to look at our November financials, and depending upon how December ends up, our revenues are very strong. We've already made plan as of the end of November. We've already hit 100% in revenue, actually 101.5% in revenue, and that doesn't include rooms and meals and other things that we'll get in December that are back-end loaded. So that's going well, and also our expenses are under plan as of the end of November. Now, there's some timing issues with some larger invoices that have since come through, but still, we're ahead of plan expense-wise. So it looks as though we're going to have a healthy fund balance at the end of this year if everything continues to track the way it looks like it's tracking currently. So next week I'll have a much better picture of that. But I think in terms of encumbrances, we'll probably be able to encumber some items, and also possibly talk about whether or not you want to withdraw money for the truck that was purchased this year from the capital reserve, or simply expense it. I don't believe we'll be close to overexpending our overall budget.
I say take it out of the budget and not raise and appropriate it again.
I already signed one of these.
I do,
So
I do too, in,
The wording was...
I'd like to let the dust settle a little bit.
Yep.
Give it one more week to see, but I'd be more than happy to have a recommendation.
I would also like to propose to the board tonight to encumber some money to do the senior center roof. We have estimates, and we're going to get 2 more estimates. They're ranging from $10,000 to $15,000 to do that work.
You can't encumber it until you actually have an obligation to pay.
Yeah, we'll have an
So
obligation.
we'd have
Contract.
to move right along.
There-
Get a contract.
We will get a contract as soon as we figure out the last
What kind
two
of roof are you proposing
The
to put
metal,
on there?
another metal roof.
$15,000?
10 to 15,000, summer, depending on what the underlayment is.
But that's only 2
I
estimates.
just sheet metal, steel metaled the half the roof of my barn for $850.
We have to do the underlayment is soft,
Yep. Well, unless you're pulling up boards and whatever.
which is what's, the roof is so old that it's lifted almost, in some cases, a half a foot off the roof. and, water and everything gets in it, and so now it's starting to leak in the main hall now, and that wood underneath it is very soft, so that's going to have to come up, and another layer is going to have to come down. So, I mean, that's what I can see it from the outside, but when the two that have gone up and done estimates, that's what they've told us so far. We have one other estimate going in on Wednesday, and then Al has somebody that's going to go do an estimate soon.
I suggest we get an RFP put together.
Soon.
Very quickly.
If we're gonna encumber, we're gonna have to.
And get it out there, because you're gonna have a couple of weeks for them to respond. We're running out of time.
Right.
So if we can get an RFP together,
Today's the 5th, so we
Come in
still
next
got
week
three
before Thursday.
weeks or so.
You have to give a 2-week notice for RFPs to respond.
Right.
For something like this?
We don't have to-
Do a
we can-
select list, as long as you get your 3.
yeah, we don't have to give them 2 weeks.
Okay.
I'd give them a week or
Could
10
accelerate
days, but
Yeah.
Well, we've already received some estimates, budget estimates, and they knew it was budget estimates. And if the selectmen were going to go forward with the project, then we would follow up with a formal request for proposal.
right, but I mean, we should get,
I mean, these
doing a
people are
roof
on
like
tap.
that with steel, you're gonna get, there's all different kinds of steel roofs,
Right.
and they're not steel anymore, they're typically what, aluminum?
Well, that's what I'm finding, and there's all
So-
different kinds of seams and,
So you want to make that decision yourselves on what you want, what kind of roof you want? Or is, that's what a request for proposal is, you propose
I would give them the size
what
of,
we want, what can you do for us?
well, when you write an RFP, you write it in such a way that everybody's bidding on the same thing.
Right.
apples for apples.
So I would look at, you've gotten 2 estimates already? I would
just
look
a
at
standing
those
seam.
estimates, those experts have looked at it,
Yep.
and write your RFP from that.
Okay,
that-
They're going to tell you what, they've already told you what they're recommending, whether they're recommending taking off the roof, existing roof.
Yep.
Now, there is some salvage value to that roof,
Just in poundage, metal poundage.
so,
That was one of the first questions they asked. Are you removing, are you disposing of the
A
roof?
lot of
And I
weight
said
there.
yes.
But I know a guy that'll come there and pick it up for free real
right, I
quick.
mean,
So you want somebody else to remove it and then...
No, we're going to remove it and get the money.
I'm sorry?
The town should remove it and get the money.
there's not a lot of weight in it.
You're not gonna get
I
much
mean, there's
money
going to
out of
be
it.
some.
Oh, there's none?
I don't think you're going to get more than, what, $300?
You're not gonna get much salvage out of it, trust me.
No.
$300 is $300, $200.
And then
I don't want to give it away if I can get $200 for
planning on
it.
having the work...
Yeah, but we don't want to get too convoluted in this because we'll run out of time.
Yes.
Right, and they want to know when the work will be completed. That's important too, whether or not
Yes.
they bid on
Whoever
something.
does the construction.
Well, as long as
strip
we
the
have an
roof, take the
RFP, as
metal
long as we
away.
have a contract, the work can be completed in, if
I'm
we're
okay
going
with
to
that,
encumber
too.
monies to it, the work can be completed in January.
You're just going to sign the contract
Right,
before
they can
December
work,
31st.
they can work on January and do the work.
Okay.
Yeah, if we have dry weather.
But I'd write the RFP from what you've got.
Okay. But I'll sit with you and write the RFP.
Yeah.
Okay.
And whoever takes the metal roof off, take it away.
Okay, go ahead, Tim.
Okay, so getting back to the good news, bad news is that this year, we're going to end up in good shape. Next year, what we're looking at right now in your budget form is an increase of 5.2%. And that is just in the municipal portion. The notable items there are, first of all, the creation of the IT department changed around some of the lines in the other departments, and if you look at an authorized budget from last year to this year, in admin, there's an $81,000 increase. The majority of that was used in either IT, or it comes out of that, or it's because of the Lakes Region Mutual Aid increase, as well as increases in workers' comp and property liability. And then the other significant portion is in the PD of about $163,000 between the authorized budget and the 2014 recommended budget. So those three areas are really where the significant changes are. So I just want to make you aware of that. So that's one of the reasons for making the change, or recommending the change to the IT budget.
I'm wondering though, if we have money to encumber, could we put some, say, in some kind of an account for the work that you want to do in the future? You know,
Unless you have an obligation to pay.
No, I don't mean for that specific job, but say maybe open up some kind of a trust account or, no?
We can't encumber and put it into a trust.
Okay.
You'd have to have a warrant article to create a capital reserve of some kind.
Well, maybe that's what we need to do then, is create a warrant article to make a capital reserve that would cover these future IT costs. That way we could put money in it, and so that when you're ready to do the work, you would already have money sitting there waiting to help defray the costs.
I think we probably should have done that a number of years ago.
Oh, I don't
I
think
think we're in a situation now where
Well,
we've got to.
Well,
Yeah.
because
Next year.
once you do this capital cost, large capital costs like the phone, voice over IP, I mean, that's good for years and years and years and years.
Right.
Well, the...
I mean, upgrades, yes, but...
Yep, depending upon how we do it. Now, what I had in the budget was a hosted system, so that's basically, we are essentially leasing it. We're not owning the hardware, we're renting it, if you will, leasing it on a monthly basis.
Right.
So there's not a long-term commitment, and there's not, long-term risk with that. And the idea was that there's a number of different solutions for us to purchase the whole thing. The challenge there is there's a lot of movement in that market right now. So the different solutions that we would get would be more money up front, but as you say, less money down the road. It's more of a capital
Right.
commitment. But without having nailed down, our existing fiber connection, the cost associated with that out, it just seems to be premature. So that, I wish it were different, but, and as much as anything, it's going to give us more utility at the PD and eventually at Town Hall, more so than the cost savings. So there'll be productivity savings, there'll be less, buying for phone, the same phone line, or not having enough extensions, that sort of thing. And I do think that there may be a case with the terminal server in that by going to Google Apps, I think some of the things that we rely on for the terminal server today might be able to be accomplished through that. So, some small portion, maybe about 30%. So there are some, I think there's some options there, but I am concerned just overall, about the overall growth of the budget and, how we manage that.
Oh, well, we had some unbudgeted, pretty large expenses come up last year that, weren't part of our budget at all, so.
This is
Yeah.
like $50,000.
Excluding costs we can't control, workman's comp, insurance, and what have you, how much is the operating budget going up?
I could figure that for you. I don't know off the top of my head.
If you could because it's going up 5.2%, but if discretionary type spending projects or what we're actually paying for to move forward are going up 1% or 1.2%, that's a big difference.
Yes, yep.
Right.
Because it sounds like a lot of this stuff, excluding IT, is stuff that we can't really control.
Well, I think now you have a fully staffed PD, which the budget reflects that now that, we didn't have in prior years. So I believe that's correct. Yeah, it's a fully staffed. That's going to account for some of it, but I can certainly try to figure that out for you, the fixed versus variable.
Thanks. Does the police department proposed budget include a Sergeant 2 position? Or no? Half a year? Because if it doesn't, you need to think about that.
Yeah.
If what?
But tentatively,
I don't have it in front of me, but I believe it did. It did, didn't it?
You put it in,
The
yeah.
difference.
You did.
Over a corporal.
One of the
Right.
things, Joe, we didn't have in last year was Sonny's wages,
Right,
so we had to add that back in
Right.
with his benefits.
because there wasn't a
Family
chance of
plan.
him returning last year.
So that
Right.
was a significant.
there's a distinct chance he's coming back this year,
Yep.
That's
or
correct.
next year, yeah.
2014, yeah. It's in the budget. Yep, three-quarters of the budget. And the command officer, whatever you call him, there is a differential for that over and above what a corporal makes, that's correct.
And that won't start until June.
Half a year.
Yeah, half a year.
But there will be a couple of adjustments in wages,
Right.
Okay.
depending on how it all comes down. And I'll
Negotiation.
get with you
Yeah.
in negotiations.
Those won't be in the line items.
One will.
One may,
Yeah.
but the rest of them will be a
Right.
warrant article.
Will be a total warrant article, but one will,
Okay.
right?
Well,
We need that. Possibly, right. So, but that wouldn't change.
This one?
That even, it wouldn't change the budget.
not
One will,
much.
right. But I'll get with you and explain that change, but that would be under wages.
Do we need to make a change to the attorney's fees
That's a
After-
good question.
after what we discussed earlier?
Let's see.
I don't know. I'm looking for it now.
Well, it would be hours. I think we would have, yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
it would be under town, it would be under legal general expense, and we have 40,000.
Yeah,
It wouldn't become, what's under the PD is for the negotiations.
year-to-date, you spent 34.5
So, that's what we've spent so far?
as of today. Yep, including, where
So
was that?
that's cutting it kind of close.
There was a lot of legal in this particular.
I don't think we shouldn't have that much legal coming up, do we?
Well, it depends on how many abatements go to court.
There's, I mean, through the end
We
of the year?
overlay for the abatements, don't we?
Yeah.
Through the end of this year, there are some open invoices, some open legal
Yep.
invoices. yeah.
Yep. So, all I'm saying is that might be cutting that one kind of close.
Go up by another 5, maybe?
Yeah.
Another 5 wouldn't hurt.
Expense?
Yeah.
We have some legal, possible legal coming up
Yep.
that we know of right now.
Well, just keep in mind, too, that in the Budget Act, you can overexpend your budget if there's a settlement against the town. So if there was
Well,
something...
hopefully, because
This
of the
isn't-
legal, we won't have any.
Well, exactly, right. But just to remind you, but you have 50,000 between the PD and the general legal.
How much you using PD so
2014.
far?
We haven't used very much, but it will be coming. Just $427 so far. But that was, I believe, from an October invoice. You haven't seen the recent activity yet.
Right.
We don't predict it to be the rest what we have in there then? Maybe not. What we have left in the PD, we're not gonna spend that.
You're not going to spend the full
No, we'll spend
10,000?
some of it, but not, because you said we got some more invoice coming in.
You have more invoices coming in from the activity that's going on right now.
Right.
But are you going to spend 10,000 in this calendar year? I really don't know. I would think not, but
I think we'll be all right then. I think we'll leave it,
Okay. Well,
I think.
Pat, you can talk to him about it, so. you
We
find out.
can always, when we get to March, make a motion to increase the line item.
It's true.
Yep.
That is true.
We can get a projection.
Yeah.
We'll have a great idea by then. We'll know how negotiations are going, we'll know how other things are going.
hopefully everything would have been done by then.
And negotiations have to be over by then,
Yeah.
February 1st, right?
Should be over in January.
Correct. Over and out.
So in any event, so I was recommending taking 24,000 out, so that's roughly about 10% of how much you're over right now from last year. So that's a start. And I included a revised, behind my sheet
Yes.
here, my weekly sheet. The page directly behind it is the revised budget,
Yep.
less those items I talked about. And the page after that shows the census. So we have 4 servers, 39 systems connected to the servers, 20, however many printers, monitors, scanners, and then we have network-attached storage devices. And that's not including a bunch of other little things, but that gives you kind of an idea of what we're dealing with in terms of servers. And I only use the primary servers on here. We actually have some secondary servers that we use for, say, the video, capturing the video from the cruisers. I didn't list that as a server. So there are some dedicated use items that aren't showing the servers, but those are just the file and application servers, 4 of them.
Are you, I thought you said it was, money set aside for a new copier for downstairs?
Not in the 2014. I believe we're going to make it.
Spitting out more parts.
It's on a par with the PDs, and I am convinced that it's going to make it.
You think so?
I know so.
Well, we took some more parts out of it last night.
Last night?
You sure?
Well, I'm hopeful.
It's giving us more than paper right now, so.
Need
Yeah,
a bonus plan.
yeah.
Right?
Here's your prize, it's like a Cracker Jack box.
Well, theoretically, over time, we should be able to print less and less. But it's a process to get there.
Yes, it
It's a
is.
real process to get there.
All right.
The town report, of course, is the big thing that really puts it to the test each year.
Well, we're going to be doing master plans, but we're only going to make a few copies because it'll also be online.
Right.
So we won't be nothing like what we do with the town reports, so. And we've made it thin enough to where you can just staple it.
That is very nice. In fact, no one is happier with a 100-page town report than I am, because it can go right through that thing, stem to stern, cover, both covers, all the insides, and double stapled. And that is a beautiful thing coming
Oh,
off
I'd
of
much
that.
rather do that than put on the,
Well, it's just such, I mean, for anyone that's crunched paper.
What is the cost of a new copier?
A new copier?
This one was
or-
used, I remember this one.
was used, yep. And I would think that we would be looking at used copiers in both the PD and here. Between the two of them, we're probably looking at about $5,500. Probably about $3,000 to $3,500 here, and the balance at the PD.
Minimum cost?
A new one? You're talking probably about 10,000, 10 to 12.
Should we be,
I think we should be looking for one for the town. The PD probably can wait, but
careful, we did that before to the PD.
well, do you know how much money has gone into that PD in the last 2 years?
I know.
Excuse me.
Well,
You know how much money's gone into town hall?
I know.
You know how many years we've been waiting for a carpet?
They do have,
including the next 2 years?
Yeah.
they do have more
Sorry,
capability
Joyce.
of copying at certain workstations now, so,
Yeah.
and there are more printers available to them now, so there may be, even though it's the least cost printing path over there, it's not, I wouldn't say it's a mission critical. It does supply the fax, prints the faxes right now, but that is, it wouldn't have to be doing that. But yeah, that could probably I think that could probably last another year.
Our printing of the annual report on it, does that take a toll on the printer?
Of course, oh, yeah.
I thought so. So my next question is it...
No.
Printing it ourselves is still a good savings,
Very
but should
inexpensive.
we be walking over to one of the local printers to have it done?
Much more expensive.
I mean, you know, one of the walk-ins and you
What'd you pay for that?
use
You
their
could buy a
printer
printer.
and stick it in there. It wouldn't work well, though, because we'd be there all day, wouldn't we?
Well, it's much more expensive,
Okay.
by
So-
a factor of 10.
Would we be better off to buy a new one?
I wouldn't be recommending buying a new copier, but a newer one, an off-lease, perhaps, but
This is the man who pinches our pennies.
I know, that's why I'm asking
I-
these
I mean,
questions.
The one we got's working, right? Okay, so there we go.
Well, it's iffy if it's working. It's spitting out parts right now.
Yeah.
So it's just spitting out paper at the same time.
call today, or you had to call them?
Not today.
Copy this.
No, what did
They
you
said
do
it
today?
spit out parts last night.
Yeah.
I'm easy.
Oh, I didn't
When I went downstairs to make some copies, it's like, whoa, what's that?
What was it, Sandy?
It was just like, it looked like foam or insulation.
that happened. That happened last week, and
Oh, yeah.
There's another, I have it, it's in my
I
office.
wasn't here, I found it on my desk.
So,
A piece
I
of
mean,
paper
Well-
from Joyce.
and for a while, it wouldn't spit out paper because it said, hey, you gotta refill the paper, and they were all full. So I kept playing with it, and finally, it gave me my report and some insulation. So,
Would keep you warm.
All right.
I'll keep that I'll definitely keep that in mind, and I'll look at that, but, I mean, if you'd like, rather than reducing it 24,000, reduce it, by the 24,000 and add back in 3,500 for a replacement.
I guess I just bring it up because it may end up having to be replaced before we'd really want to. I mean, I agree, I'd like to see it last another year, but I don't know if it will, especially come town reports, we get those done, and it might be on its last breath. The parts will really start coming out.
Did you make the adjustments to the budget for the election registration? Those are in there?
Moderator, supervisor of the checklist, and election registration, all three were changed, and then there may be some minor changes in the taxes because of the moderator and the supervisors.
Can you update your IT?
I can.
Is the board in favor of the taking out the voice over IP and
Yep.
the terminal server?
Absolutely, I hate anything new.
All right, so can you make the
I can
necessary adjustments in this?
bring it back up for you to review later before the end of your meeting. if you like.
And once we're going to okay this today, board,
Yep.
we're going to okay it so that the Budget Committee can receive this tomorrow as a draft, with the understanding that PD and
I wouldn't be specific, I'd just say that there could be changes.
there could be changes.
Yeah.
They're aware of some changes, but also open enrollment, so, I mean, obviously, that could be a change.
Right.
So, I mean, there would be a draft, and that would be it. So,
I can, if you're in agreement with that, I can take it down and make those changes. The other thing, I just want to note, because it does affect the budget somewhat, the finance budget, the interest on the TAN,
Essentially.
That's all it needs to be, is your signature.
it may be really pressing the budget at the 10.5 because of the amount that we borrowed this year. If we have to borrow the same amount next year, it's going to be, depending upon the timing of the borrowing, we could be right at that wire or exceed that amount that we budgeted. So It's going to be very, very
Right on
close,
it.
and I just want to make you aware of that. We were very fortunate in that Franklin Savings Bank gave us the same rate in 2013 as we had in 2012, which was 0.875%. And for a municipal line of credit facility of $2 million, during that period of time, they were issuing other similar lines of credit for 1.75%. And since then, it's gone as high as 2.5%. And just this last month, they issued one at 2.4% to a neighboring community. We're looking at about 2.25% if we wish to renew. And so the difference of the 0.875 to the 2.25% is significant for us, and that's why we'd be pressed right up to that tan line and/or possibly slightly exceeding.
No-brainer.
What's that?
It's a no-brainer. Do it.
Yeah.
To
Need a
renew?
motion.
I make a motion, we renew it with
Yep.
Franklin Savings.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right,
Aye.
Did you catch that?
And that's at the increased rate, $2 million.
2.25, you say?
2.25, yep.
Yep.
Okay, very good.
Can we make
Still
that
a
as part of the
bargain.
minutes? Catherine, is the rate as part of the minutes, please?
Bargain.
And we also incur no costs along with that, which they incur the costs in setting that up, so
Good.
we do well with that. So that's all I had. If you,
All those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
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 What motion?
For the tan.
Yeah. I thought we voted on it.
I got
you did too.
I got this in your...
Oh,
in your-
okay, thanks. Yep, I got one of those.
oh, okay.
Twice voted.
I pass it on to the...
Just making sure.
We're really serious,
Well,
that's all.
They,
I have a
I was
question.
asked if we voted, so I voted over again.
Good enough.
All right. What?
So you want me to make those changes to the
Yes.
IT budget, and then I'll bring that back up for your final draft?
Wasn't there another change as well that we wanted to make?
I didn't hear with the, the budget change to reflect the special election expenses.
Yes.
Yes.
I was over there, I didn't hear the answer.
The moderator line,
Yep.
supervisor, the checklist line, and election registration lines were all increased as a result. And some of the
I
tax
can't, in
lines.
this pile of stuff, I can't find the paperwork, but does that include the special primary election thing?
Yes.
Right.
That's a special election,
Okay.
that's why we changed it. Okay.
The regular election will be held on the same day as ours.
Yeah, well, no, I knew that, but I knew we had an extra special,
The budget.
You will. I'll go down and make these changes, and I'll make them for
All right, then I'll make a motion to approve.
you.
Well,
Some
we
of the
don't want to
tax-
make a motion to approve because it's a draft.
Well, some of the taxes will
gonna
have changed
change.
from what you approved because of the moderator, supervisor, and so what you might want to do is just by department, perhaps.
We've done it by department already, we've approved
We
it
can just make a motion to
Accept
send
it
the
as a draft.
draft
to the budget
budget
committee.
that's
Right.
created as of today
Right.
to the budget committee.
Very good. All right, I'll go make those changes.
Make sure that it has draft,
Yep.
please.
Would you like the watermark?
Draft, please.
so I do have one final question. Garbage.
Did you see the numbers there? Joe, in his report?
Yeah, Joe, you know what I presented to the recycling committee? Back behind my report, I put the same.
saw it.
Okay,
So let's get back to my question.
yes,
Garbage.
yes.
And the surcharge that we charge the commercial haulers.
Oh, yes,
All right,
yes.
see, it's a different thing. You all thought you knew where I was going, you zigged, I zagged.
That I was in favor of increasing,
Well,
yeah.
if we were to increase that to, say, $80 from the price it is right now,
A $10 increase? So it'd be about a $13 administrative fee. That's,
I did some research, and, well, we'll talk, never
Okay.
mind, we'll talk.
Can I have a copy of your report? I can't
It's
find
still a
it.
budget, as it turns out.
You can bring it up when you come
I will,
for the other. I think I handed it off when I
Stacking up
passed
like
this down.
lanes over Logan out here.
Thank you.
all right, and I will be up
What's the report? Looks like you wrapped up.
You pass these down to, oh, these are mine, never mind. I gotta do these.
Oh, Vicky's is right here.
I pass that down to, they're gonna put that in a frame or something.
Oh, here it is.
Just give it to Joyce. I think she's gonna put it in some type of frame. I'm hoping.
Mr. Mitchell,
Because it has to...
does test voting machine include the TDDY thing that's in the tent? The voice, it does? Okay.
We have another. I got one.
Okay, next on our agenda is Crederi Associates. Oh, RIP, okay.
How we doing today?
How are you? Come on up, whoever wants to come up.
Room for you.
Good to see you, Chuck. Thank you.
All right,
Our meeting? Basically, Joyce and I were just talking, we felt like we're through a lot of the phases of, sort of the defined phases of work that we were, contracted to do. We're at a point where there's, sort of need some, just wanted to update you, we haven't given you an update on where we are, and also have a discussion on moving forward, and just to make sure we're all, I guess, that we are doing the work that, I guess, you're in agreement with how we should be moving forward. Just as the context is, moving the bridge sort of does change things in how we move forward with our piece, and that's really what's sort of unknown for us at this point, how best to move forward. So that's really the context. Over the past, actually year now, we're aware we did remove the building. We did find some of the other hydraulic lifts there. We did remove the hydraulic lifts. There was some additional contaminated soil that we removed that. In that process, we wound up finding some gasoline contaminated soil, which, we did do some additional investigations. Luckily, the petroleum is covered through the New Hampshire Petroleum Cleanup Fund. I think you guys are aware of that. So they cover all the additional investigation and cleanup required for that, minus a $5,000 deductible. And just to be clear, I know there were some questions, that $5,000 deductible can be covered through the Brownfields Cleanup Grant, so it's not additional money that has to come from the town. The second thing is the additional soil contamination from the hydraulic lifts. You do have an insurance policy that actually does cover up to $10,000 per claim, and so some of the hydraulic, the waste oil contaminated soil was submitted under that insurance claim. My understanding, there is a $1,000 deductible for that, and that $1,000 can be covered under the cleanup grant too. So if you look, that hydraulic oil was, I want to say, $4,300. So so $3,000 of that will be reimbursed through your insurance claim. So we did remove that soil. We had some source area contaminated arsenic soil that we did remove that. And the New Hampshire DS has asked us to go and do some additional investigations for the petroleum, and that, which we did do, and that was covered under the petroleum program and those funds. So we actually bill directly the state of New Hampshire. We bill them directly, and they reimburse us directly. Even though technically we're still under contract to the town, but we do invoice them directly. There likely, and we did some additional investigation, there'll likely be some additional soil removal for the petroleum side, and that will be covered, through the petroleum reimbursement fund through the state, and the rest remaining for the insurance claim that is there. So we're sort of done, well, once that additional petroleum soil is done, all the subsurface work is been done, the source areas have been removed from the site, and now we need to do this, final soil covering system, which we will integrate with, a gravel parking lot. We can incorporate the trails through that. One of the things that has changed since moving the bridge does change, because when the bridge was on our site, there was already engineering being done there. There was already the permitting that is being done. So that was what we had sort of assumed, that we would incorporate our work into that, and that's for the kayak launch that we had incorporated on that plan. So as of now, with the money we have remaining, I don't think there's enough to get that done, to get the kayak launch done, but there's still everything else, with the parking lot and the trails that are there and the grass, can be done with the remaining grant amount. I did actually pull together a table, because it starts to get a little bit complicated with the different funding sources, where we are, where we've charged. So actually I can pass that around. So if you look, the first column is our total contract, and that includes all the different funding sources that we use.
Can I have another one, please? Thank you.
It includes all of our funding sources that we have. So you'll see the total contract is the first amount. The second amount is the EPA cleanup grant that we've spent. So if you look, that we still have a little bit over $90,000 of the 200 left. There's been $19,000 for the petroleum odd fund. That's being reimbursed directly by the state of New Hampshire and paid by the state of New Hampshire to us. And then there's the insurance claim, which there's the $4,200 for that.
But you said now that the EPA will reimburse us for the $1,000 deductible of the insurance claim.
Right.
All right, so I'd need to move.
That.
They only
Yeah, no, I see
paid
what you
me
mean.
$3,241, which we received.
Okay.
So how long would you show that under the EPA?
Yeah, so that line item for task 10 will be moved up to $3,958.
I'm sorry, for task 10, okay.
Yeah.
All right,
And then the insurance claim will be reduced by $1,000.
okay.
So who pays that?
Well, that's under the EPA cleanup grant pays that.
The 3241?
Oh, no, sorry, the insurance company pays that.
Okay, now it's going to be
Have
$3,000.
they already paid that?
Yes, they did.
So they've already paid the town.
And then that was going to be,
Yes.
okay.
So how much have we spent so far? And looking at this, it's out of the total budget of $131,348.
Well, that's how much you've spent already. But under the cleanup grant,
Out of the $200,000.
That would be the second column.
that's the second column, the EPA cleanup grant, we've spent will be basically $109,000 out of the 200.
Pat, if you don't have a follow-up on that, I wanted to go back.
No, go ahead.
what Rip said earlier when you were talking about the relocation of the bridge. I'm trying to understand how that will impact the budget. I'm not 100% sure.
Basically, that water work adds a lot more complexity to the project. It's actually very, it's a fairly simple project of just, doing some site work, adding some additional loam, adding the gravel for where the pathways are going to be in the parking lot. Once you start to add water, work along the river, it adds additional permitting, which was already being done as part of the bridge, and that type of work that gets done on the riverfront.
So it's really only the area where the bridge abutment was going to be.
Right, and if you, sorry, I should have brought the site plan. If you look, it's basically, this is the area that won't be done, all this other area will be done.
So that shouldn't add additional cost, right?
By not doing it?
Right.
Oh, if we're not doing the kayak launch, it doesn't add additional cost.
Right.
So basically, for our remaining funds, you'll get everything, except for the work that's right along the water.
Was not the kayak launch included in the original?
Yes, it was.
Yes, it was.
So we could still have the kayak launch, but without the bridge abutment?
Well, we assumed, as part of that, though, that we assumed different efficiencies from the engineers, like we didn't have that, designed, and we assumed that once they're designing this, it would be very easy to just incorporate that into their design. So we have to sort of start, it just adds additional work to do that. So we don't think we have enough money to do that when we looked at costs. I mean, that is still something we can try to look at harder, but...
What is the actual cost of putting in the kayak?
I mean, it really depends on, I don't have it breaken out by cost, but I mean, you're
Is there
probably
agreement?
adding, say, $50,000 more to the overall project is what we're sort of, budgeting that.
The original grant application, and Rick, you can help me out with this since you're the trails person, was one of the ways we scored extra points was because we were using the Town of Northfield, Winnipesaukee River Trails grant to put the bridge in there as leverage towards completing our project. So that they were going to be spending their money through their grant when they were putting in the bridge landing, because they were going to have to be removing dirt, they were going to have to be doing all the permitting and everything, that their grant was going to cover that part of the building the kayak. Am I wrong in that assumption? That's why we had to coordinate.
I don't think we ever specified kayak ramp. We said that we were going to be putting in the bridge and the trail and the unassociated pieces. So there's still going to be the trail, but the bridge is downstream, so we have to relook at how we try to incorporate the kayak ramp.
Right.
Whether it be at that location or downstream. But the original parts here, the gravel parking lot, something for the trail, like you said, still be the same. The part that's different is if the state agrees with all of us desire to have the bridge downstream. Trail comes the way it does, but then just before the parking lot, diverges off to the south to go down where the other bridge trail began.
Hold on one second, and just for the sake of really being an idiot in all of this, but we originally had a plan for a design from Cuderi Associates with a $200,000 grant that said we were going to get all of this with land and grass with a kayak ramp. Am I correct so far, right? And then...
You knew the bridge was going to be there, so that was, what our assumptions were.
But they were only going to engineer the bridge portion. They weren't going to engineer the kayak ramp.
That's...
Right.
But as Joyce, we've made an assumption, though, that they're going to need to put a lot of fill in there, that we'd be able to incorporate that pretty easily, was what our assumption was. While they're out there doing work, they're going to need a significant amount of fill.
So now with the Trail Association and the bridge, we're going to end up with not a ramp, and we have to wait on whether or not you can engineer and incorporate a kayak ramp into that. Am I right or am I wrong, or no?
Well, the kayak ramp was for the town's portion
Yeah.
of this,
Right.
not the Trail Association. So I'm
really
just
confused
a
about
little
this.
surprised that your agency would assume that it was part of the bridge.
Well,
Because
we
it's not
had
part, I mean,
meetings
part of the
with
trail.
their engineers here, and that's why they had to, the towns, the Northfield's engineers and the Trails Association and our EPA grant all had to coordinate and work together.
And we were very upfront when we, when we interviewed here, that we were very defined until we got to this final phase of the project, that it was, was very undefined to us at that point, and we were upfront about that too, so I do, and it wasn't, so at that point, with what we knew about the project, we felt very strongly we could do that. Now, with the things, with that changing, it wasn't, we were under contract to do that specific task, and we were upfront about that.
How does that affect the conservation portion of it? Does it?
And it might still
I was just-
be able to be put in, right? I mean, we don't know yet. We'll have to see where the bridge finally ends up and whether or not it lends itself to also have a kayak ramp.
Well, I think part of the original cost, which was supposed to have had some preparation for the bridge, now that doesn't need to be done.
Right.
So I would think that that should be some sort of cost savings.
But we
As far
also,
as the engineering goes,
Right.
I would think that the town would still want to possibly put in a kayak ramp there. If that was not part of the, if that was part of the original concept, I'm not sure why just not putting in preparation for the bridge would have to cost extra for engineering in order to put in just the kayak ramp and not the bridge. But I hear
Extra?
what you're saying, but I don't understand that. That's okay.
Is that for us, extra cost for us, do you mean?
No, for the,
Oh.
within the grant,
Within the
That's some
grant?
sort of savings, because if you're gonna incorporate the bridge with the kayak ramp, we're taking the bridge out of the equation, we must still have some savings, because we're not doing anything in it now, right?
Oh, absolutely, but there's also been some additional costs that we've had too,
Right.
as part of the project. The additional soil removal, so the cost to get to where we are today has been higher than what we originally had budgeted to.
right.
But I thought that those additional costs were covered by other entities.
No, not all of it.
Not the lead and arsenic and the hydraulic lift removal, or the residual contaminated soil removal. I'm sorry, the residual contaminated soil removal, we pushed that onto insurance and EPA.
And you didn't anticipate the hydraulic lift removal.
Correct, we do not.
No,
It was hiding.
that was 25,000.
In an auto garage?
880, and then the additional soil was 7,200. Everything that the selectmen have signed in the original contract and in, we've had, what, 2 change orders? Since then, the board has approved, and then by signing the application to participate in the Petroleum Subsurface Investigation Program, that authorized Crederi to do the work, and he submits the bills directly to DES for payment. That's going to be the next big chunk of money, but we're not paying that. Insurance is, the deductible is being reimbursed in the EPA grant.
So pretty much we've broken even.
I guess I don't know what that means, broken even.
Well, I'm talking with the...
Oh, with the savings
With the
compared
savings.
to the additional
Right.
costs.
Pretty much.
Well, I mean, we have to find ways to get it done for that money that we have.
Right.
That's basically what we're doing.
Okay.
so at this point then, the town, if it goes forward without the kayak ramp, could probably have that done and engineered and put in later. So
On our own.
taking that out now would help be the cost savings, which would then help to balance things out.
Interject as a kayaker and canoeer. At some point, you certainly might want to decide to add the ramp or do it like that here. But since the Conservation Commission now owns the piece further downriver, and the trail and the abutments of the bridge will be down there, the topography is such there that you don't really need a kayak ramp to really be constructed the same way. There's already access down to the river on the natural slope in that part of the river. So at least temporarily, you've still got access to the river. The only thing you really miss is that one rapids.
Cal, up real quick, come back now.
If you want
Well,
to-
I mean, the truth of the matter is, people have been using those sites for years for
Right.
various things, and there isn't much that's going to stop them from continuing to use them.
The original plan would have had to cut the banks some. That's what all that original discussion was about. If the bridge button was going there, they'd have to dig and put in all their concrete, and they would do some of the other digging at the same time.
Right, they'd have to do all the permits.
Right.
This does change that part.
It just made sense to do both together.
Now,
But
we
they weren't going to be
still-
part of that engineering.
And just to be completely clear, while we've submitted to the state that our preferred location for the bridge is the downstream location, we all agree that's what we don't like, the state still have not approved of that.
Yep.
They have to get back to us and say yay or nay. And their alternative was the one that was the original on this drawing, upstream, closer to the railroad bridge.
But don't we want to hope that they approve it? I thought that was the
Yeah.
least expensive.
We definitely want the downstream location.
Okay.
Right.
In this bridge, you're raising a portion of the match money, and then the rest is grant.
Yes,
So the towns aren't going to put up a dime for that, the bridge.
that's correct.
We had hoped that the Northfield Winnipesaukee Trails project and our project, we've been moving along thinking that it was all going to happen within the 3-year window. But now, we're at the ready come next spring to start putting in a gravel parking lot, putting in a trail. We need to know where the trail's going to go, landscaping and doing all that with the remaining amount of the EPA grant. But now, we're not going to be doing the kayak.
What, has the Conservation Commission discussed their vision of what, I'm going to call it one site, but the two properties as one would look like, with the bridge at the western location downstream?
Well, we are assuming that, we haven't sat down now with, and tried to come up with conceptual drawings or anything like that, but the concept is to try to keep the lower piece, which is not the Ernie site, as clear and open as possible. We don't want to see a straight path, from where it comes out by the parking lot up by Ernie's. We don't want to see a straight path down to the bridge, but something that could meander a little bit down toward where the bridge will be, and it would go in toward the river, and, and we would like to be able to keep all of the parking up on the Ernie site in the future.
Do you see it as a naturalized site, or do you see it with manicured lawns, grass?
No, we want to keep it in a natural state with any kind of plantings in there to be low and would not require constant maintenance. It might require some mowing once or twice a year to keep trees and things out, because those are always, self-seeding by birds and other things. So, minimal maintenance, but we want to have some natural vegetation, natural plants, whatever.
Have you given any thought, because we all know that that's used like it's a parking lot for a lot of people right now, how some kind of a barrier or something to put along there to keep people from pulling off?
We've spent several meetings discussing different kinds of barriers, and when I got right down to what would be maybe more desirable from an aesthetic point of view, we got down to the fact that it looks like a series of large rocks. I won't use the word boulders, and we have a source of someone that was willing to donate them. It's just a matter of trying to get them in and move them. And we do understand that there is still some soil left up by the Tanger Outlet Mall, which we could use to transport down. We'd like to cover some of the area in there where there was a lot of asphalt and other
Right.
pieces in there, enough so that we could get something green in there to grow. Wildflowers, whatever. We don't want a manicured lawn. We want it to be like a natural wildlife area.
So how far away are we from planting this site to making it look as the Conservation Commission would hope it would look? This coming year?
It's really up to you. I mean, we can, be ready for the spring to actually implement that. I mean, the question is, if we do it, then it sort of sets where the paths are, and then it sort of, and as long as the concept is set, do you know what I mean? I guess that's the question. We can do it whenever you want. We can do it this spring, or we can wait till the bridge is done and you have more design and maybe try to get some more synergies. You might have, someone ideas that said, hey, we wish we would do it. So it's really,
The parking lot's pretty much is going right where it's going.
Right.
When can we expect a parking lot or get that area
right, well, the
leveled
question
out?
is, once we're out there, we're doing we'd like to do everything instead of doing just
Right.
one, and then.
Mobilization.
Right.
So
Well,
it would seem
The
like,
building's gone, that's what I think.
it
is-
seems like we're at a point where the Conservation Commission, I mean, I don't know how the other selectmen feel, but the Conservation Commission and the trail people should get together and create a vision of what this will look like.
Sure.
Because, if we're getting close to the end of our pot of gold, so to speak, you have not done, and I forget what it's called, I'm sorry, when you put the bladder and the whatever over
Marker layer and
the
that,
site,
correct.
there's got to be a cost to that.
Well, that's in the budget.
That's in that. So we would know how much money we have to spend on this.
Oh, we already know.
Well, it depends on, are we going to gravel the parking lot? Are we going to asphalt the parking lot? Are we going to have a fence? Are we going to build a stone wall? What kind of plantings? We have a general idea, but specifics we don't have. And once you get the specifics, I know from Riverfront Park, plantings can be costly.
No, they definitely can. No, so getting that concept plan is important. If you want us to work together, we do work with a landscape architect that we can, that we can use. I don't know if you already, that's what you do, so you don't need it, you don't need to spend the money on that too, so. I guess it's,
When will DES get back on the final, on exactly what they're going to require us to move? I know you did the report, you sent the report, and we're still waiting to hear back from Jennifer
I
Marks.
want to say it's the spring because they're having a funding issue, so there'll be additional funds in the spring, so,
Okay.
is my understanding.
And will we be able to segregate what soil is being removed by the petroleum fund and what soil is going to be removed and put back in by the EPA grant?
Well, as of now, the only soil that's going to need to be removed is the petroleum, so that'll all be this, all the other work is being left in place, and we're just regrading and then adding grade to it. So we're done with the soil removal for the hazardous, for
Okay, so the
the cleanup
EPA
grant.
part of the
The EPA soil removal is done.
Okay.
What will the restrictions be with the covering over the contaminated soils?
When you say restrictions as far as,
If we want to plant over it, if we want to put a path over, put a playground over it,
no, there's no.
dig into it?
It's only it would only be digging into it, because if there's low levels of contamination in there, it would have to have special handling on top of it.
All right, so it's very similar to what we have in Riverfront Park.
I don't know the specifics of Riverfront.
Well, if we dig into it, we have to notify DES.
On the Westfield side, we're ready to put the trailer across the old Brent battery policy. What everyone from EPA suggested and Trail Bureau was that since there was a membrane there, it was covered with soil, that we put down another membrane and then put down our crushed bank run and our stone dust. So our original lay down at the trail through that open area, so that battery property is raised a little bit from the rest of the surrounding. We never really did get to that point of detail here. That would be fine from the trail point of view. The drain's better, it's up 4 or 5 inches from the surroundings.
Just the trail part, you're.
Just the trail part, yeah. So
Yeah, we haven't really gotten that far. I mean,
I know
obviously,
if you're laying down a membrane and then you're covering the membrane with topsoil to define where the trail is, you don't cover that part of the membrane with as much topsoil or any topsoil. You might have a crushed bank line right on top of that membrane. But then our stone dust on top of that, it's going to be a little higher than the ground by 2-3 inches, which works out great.
I know we were restricted by the types of plants. In fact, you'll see that there aren't any over the membrane. We're also restricted, as if we want to dig into it, we have to notify DES. It'd probably be helpful for the Conservation Commission to know what the restrictions that they'll put on it. I mean, it probably is going to be a no-dig zone and no-tree zone.
Well, that was one of the questions that I think we had right from the beginning, was that the original, I think, I won't necessarily use the word architectural designs, but clearly there was one of those concept drawings that showed trees, and we were, at one
Right.
point, I think we were looking at near the butter, having some trees down along that line, and I guess the question became whether or not we'd be able to get in there. When would you think we should dig, before the barrier was put down? You just penetrate the barrier, or what?
Don't penetrate the barrier.
No, the difference, this is just a marker layer, it's not a barrier that's preventing infiltration in,
So
so...
there's no bladder, there's no
No, sorry,
plastic,
and I
there's
just
no...
assumed it as a general term.
Oh, no.
Sorry. So it's basically a geotextile fabric, so it is already porous. It's not a membrane that's going to prevent infiltration. It's going to be more, is if erosion, it's more to look, erosion goes through, you're going to see that, and that's going to tell you, you need to go and do maintenance on it, because you're getting
That's
close to the
different.
contaminated soil.
That's very different.
Yeah, so I do apologize that
Okay,
you-
then we need to know more particular of exactly what is going to be there.
Yeah.
And I think they need to know where it's going to be.
as
And
far-
what,
yeah.
and what DES will allow us to do there.
Right. And just going back to tree plantings, I mean, you'll be able to do, especially when it's designed, you can do whatever you, like, the plantings can go below the marker layer, we just put the marker layer over it. It's only in the future when you start to go below, below the marker layer.
That's very different than what Riverfront Park has.
And we have through the process that we would like to have some type of a sign that just shows the trail, where the trail goes. We had never said exactly where that would be. But the same holds true for that, you got to dig a couple of post holes. So if we do that at the same time.
I mean,
marker layer.
ideally, we, do a design that has everything that you want, and the same contractor does everything at that time. He has the handling, we're able to relocate those soils.
I
That
think
way,
you need
everything's
to-
done, and then in the future, you're not, hopefully not having to go in and excavate
Actually
unless...
happened with the sign plan was Ken and I decided we would just donate the money for it. So I've already got the materials sitting in my garage. As soon as we're ready, Ken and I are going to get together and build the thing.
Okay.
And then we just have a couple of holes dug.
Yeah, we talked all along of having an informational kiosk on the trail. And possibility of one on the other side as well. We have permission from the state.
So you would want to get together on how it's, what it looks like and design and so on.
Yeah, we wouldn't have...
Or we need to look at calendars and Sunday.
Perfect.
So as far as the EPA grant, we've done everything that we're supposed to do with the EPA grant now. We're ready for spring to finish doing the site work. We're still waiting for the state to,
Right, to
on the petroleum part of it.
respond to our last report that said there's still an area of gas-contaminated soil, we recommend you go and you remove that. So we're waiting for them to come back and say, yes, do it, and the funding is available, please get it done. So just the only caveat, we'll be, I think we should get the design and concept and going, but we definitely should wait for the soil, the final soil to be removed first, which should happen in the spring.
Okay,
So as far as
that's-
timing goes, I mean, that should be the first task, that
Okay.
just makes the most
By
sense.
spring, we talking April, May,
I mean,
we don't know for sure.
yeah, we don't know for sure.
Last, we had a discussion with Tom Jameson. Quality is ready. They have already submitted the plan, we put the final on the other day. So that's either gone in yesterday or gone in the next day or two. It's supposed to get back to us within 3 months on their determinations to where the bridge will be located. So if they stick with their timeline, we should know that
Perfect.
good timing.
Sounds like a plan.
Yep.
Any other questions? Thank you for the update. You all set? Catherine, you all set?
I'm all set.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Walk you out.
Thank you.
Nothing but on top of it.
Black licorice. Yes. So, this was on the top here when I wrote the copy. It must be Joyce's. Did you say that?
No.
We have a member from the audience that wishes to speak. I'd say no myself.
Is this a public session now? No, oh, I don't see that on my, it says Public Works, but it doesn't say public session. Oh, excuse me. What would you like to say, Jane?
I just have a question.
Yeah.
Once the site is established,
Right.
and once the bridge is in place, who is responsible for the maintenance of those two entities?
Of the bridge or the site?
Those
The conservation would be,
The Conservation Commission
the
would
site.
be responsible for the property.
okay?
The Winnipesaukee Trail Association would be responsible for the path, their path,
And the bridge.
and the bridge.
Make you happy, Dennis?
No, I was just wondering, you know,
No, those need to be defined.
quite a big expense.
Oh,
yeah.
Big-
As we know. As we know.
Right.
We already have
our
one.
agreement with them is we have no responsibility to maintain any part of the trail.
I thought that's what we raise money for every year.
Well, it had to, it's written in such a way that they have to raise, they raise and appropriate the money, not the town of Tilton.
That's why we have the fundraiser every year.
The Winnipesaukee Trail Association has the fundraiser, the town of Tilton doesn't.
But I thought we were the ones that signed the contract.
You have to read the contract.
Yeah.
That was, one of the selectmen had caused a big problem with that. And finally, they wrote an agreement that took the responsibility out of the town of Tilton's hands in such a way that if at any time they did not have the monies to pay for the maintenance, the town of Tilton would close the trail.
Could close the trail. Not necessarily
remember that.
would, but could.
That's right. It's not supposed to cost the taxpayers, the town of Tilton, anything to have the trail come through town.
does that answer your question, Ms. Alden? All right, you're very welcome.
That would be fine.
I don't believe it.
I'll second that. No. All right, next on our agenda is Public Works Director, Dennis Allen.
Has he seen the letter? There's a letter, Dennis.
I found that on the copier. I think it came to Joyce.
You'd appreciate this.
That's all right.
Yeah.
We're gonna ignore it till after Christmas.
Probably take you a couple weeks to do that.
At least a month.
Yeah.
At least a month.
Can't get to it right away.
Nope. Just saying. I was a bad man. Dennis is a busy man.
Well, as a guy who uses that rail as he crosses by and large, I was not impeded in any way from utilizing the rail. I very seldom run my hand down the rail because I'm afraid of iron splinters going in there.
Yeah.
It's an old iron bridge, I mean, come on.
I'm not agree with you.
But that's the letter, anyway.
So Dennis, we'll talk about 3 weeks.
Yes.
Okay.
I think the lights are
not on the
absolutely
agenda
beautiful.
right now.
Every time I drive in and out of town at night, I
January
just smile. So, yay, what a nice job you guys did.
Bravo, Mr. Allen, to you. And I know John and Fred did all that work, right?
They took care of the gazebo.
Oh, the gazebo's beautiful.
And Jay did the the rails.
Very nice. It is beautiful.
But we've had some problems.
Oh, yeah.
Vandalism?
Yes.
Yes,
Somebody stole the timers. They stole the somebody stole the timers. Unbelievable.
No, believable.
The first night, they stole the timer.
But then last night, okay,
Yeah.
came in this morning, 6:30, and the lights were on. So, they had set the timer from timer to just an on position. Okay? So what we did to alleviate the stealing of the timers and changing the position of the switch, we boxed in the timers with plywood so they can no longer reach in and adjust or try to take the timers.
So you'll be sure to bring down your crowbars to break into the box.
Yes.
Well, maybe this would be a good time to put a camera on the island.
Seems like, well, I don't know. We're spending money to try to stop them now.
Your camera.
At least with the camera, we have cameras.
We have technology.
Cameras?
We have
At least with the
technology right
camera,
now.
We could, like, catch them and prosecute them.
So tomorrow, guess what they took this time?
They took the camera.
I think the only thing they can take now is just the lights.
Chief, could you look into putting a camera out there tonight? Hello? And then we'll prosecute?
To the fullest
Partially.
extent of the law.
They're
Unless-
stealing from the entire town.
Unless we absolutely know who
Catherine,
it
you might
is.
know the answer to this. Can you still tar and feather in this state?
I think that's probably up there with cruel and unusual punishment.
Well, it's unusual, but
The total that
Hot
we spent on
tar.
the lights was $448.52.
is that including the containers for storage in the off-season?
No, it does not.
So that figure is actually higher.
No, that was charged to the highway garage.
For why?
Containers that we bought, so we can take all the lights and keep them separate so we know where they go,
Nice.
was
Thank you.
purchased by them. Correct.
I thought that was going to be part of that
No.
particular expense.
Then we're gonna do the same thing with.
You need to think of that with the parks lights.
Yeah, we're planning on taking those down.
Nice job. Very nice job.
We'll
Nice.
definitely tell them that. And they all appreciate it. It looks nice.
It looks very nice.
Lots of comments going into Cumbies, coming out of Cumbies, all the people are saying, wow, wow. Nice to
Perhaps
have,
next year we can expand our horizons in some way.
We should do something with the outside of Town Hall. I know we put up the wreaths, but lights around the balcony maybe.
We actually have leftover money from my motion of the island.
Well, let's get some lights on the balcony.
The thing that we learned, okay, without the LED solars, you can only run 4 strands of wire
together.
of lights on one circuit.
Right.
Wow.
Because if you hook the 5th one, you blow them all, the fuse is on.
Yep.
Wow.
So, that's 105 feet
Yeah.
across the island bridge for one rail.
Right.
So,
And that doesn't take into account the circle, that's just straight across.
That's just straight.
That's straight, right.
So it's more like 130 or 40 feet to actually traverse the space.
Well, they
Of course, when we move,
thought we were going, that we were gonna be able to gain that 5th strand on it, and when we plugged it in, boom.
of course, when we take those lights off the rail and string them through the lattice work, it'll change the dynamic again.
Exactly, yes.
Next year.
I'm going to stop everybody because we're talking about lights and be cognizant of the fact that we have a ceremony tonight and we're under the gun for agenda items.
Yes.
And I want everybody, I know selectmen have some important things to also report. So, here's my gavel.
He's
There.
using the hammer.
Put down.
First time in 4 years. Okay, Dennis,
Yes.
we asked you to come to look at what roads were being swept and what not roads are being swept and so on, and to look at where changes could be made and so on. So,
Now you're talking winter sweeping?
tell us what you do first as what your regular
Okay.
thing is.
What I did, okay, to make it a little bit easier and everybody can follow along, okay, is I did a 5-year history of the sweeping that we do in Main Street in the summertime, okay?
Take one for Kathy.
On the left-hand side of the years, Mills contractor, and, you know, I can go through the whole thing with you, okay? But for this year, okay, we swept all of the Tilton town roads, and we started on May 22nd. Then you'll see the number of sweepers that we had. We had 2 sweepers, the hourly rate, the total number of hours, and the total cost.
And that, all of town of Tilton roads includes the village.
It includes the village, it includes West Main, it includes East Main. The heaviest areas of the sweeping is Mansville because it's a sand road, Noyes Road because it's a sand road, Chapman Road, okay, is sand, Hill Road is sand, and in the little village there by Winnisquam Store is sand. So those are the biggest areas that we have to sweep. But as we're there, okay, they do them, and then they're going to Silver Lake, they're going to Ashlot, they're going to Carroll Drive, as they're going up to Winnisquam, and then they'll come back and they'll go over Lancaster, okay? Generally after Mansville, because Mansville is always the first road that we sweep, because the sweepers can get in there at 4 o'clock in the morning and start sweeping, and then I have the trucks come in at 6 o'clock, okay? And we use the high lift dump sweepers, so they can dump into the trucks, okay? After that road, one will come back into town with 1 truck and do all of the interior roads, okay, in town. And the other sweeper will stay there and go on the west side of Tilton.
And it looks like, according to your sheet, that once a week, we do Main Street.
That is correct, yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Once a week?
Yeah.
Once a week. during-
1 hour per week.
1 hour per week, right. Yep. And that consists of railroad tracks, from the railroad tracks at Cumberland's, all the way up to Winter Street. And he turns around on Winter Street and comes back down.
Okay.
Yep.
Is that something that we really need to do, or, I mean, do you recommend every week, or can we back off a little bit with that, or?
Well, I really think that at the cost that it cost us, in the job that he does, in the way that we would like the Main Street to look, I don't think that's an outrageous price.
But why do we do just Main Street? Why aren't we doing the Lockmere area of Main Street? Why aren't we doing Winnisquam area of Main Street once a week? If it's necessary on this section of Route 3, in front of these businesses, why isn't it necessary in front of other businesses on Main Street? West Main Street, down at the Franklin-Tilton Town line? Why aren't those,
Because that's a state road.
well, Main Street is a state road.
Okay, but let me rephrase that. You don't get the number of pedestrian traffic down there on the sidewalks that you do in the Main Street of Tilton.
Well, you do in Winnisquam,
No.
but they're not walking on the sidewalk. I mean, you do get pedestrian traffic in Winnisquam, a lot of it. Probably not as heavily as Main Street, but we're not sweeping the sidewalks, are we? We're sweeping the street.
You're sweeping.
So what does the pedestrian traffic have to do with sweeping the street?
because of the people that are coming out of the stores, okay? The apartment places that we have trash on the street.
Well, you have trash on the street and I'm going for equity. You have trash on the street in Winnisquam. You have trash on the street
Okay,
everywhere.
Okay, I'm trying to be specific of where they're sweeping and telling me the trash. Can you tell me in Winnisquam there's trash? Can you be more specific of where the trash is in Winnisquam?
Just drive down there and look, and you can see it. It's there, Lockmere. The point is, we're doing this, we're spending taxpayers' dollars to do this for the Main Street businesses, but we're not doing it for any other business in town. And I'm only telling you what I'm hearing. I don't have that type of business on Main, on.
We remove the snow in the winter, and on the off days, when you have a few days of not snowing, and it's just ice, that sand will build up, so that cars are not going to be able to park at some point in time on the sides of the main street.
But we're not talking about winter. We clean that up in the spring. I'm talking about through the summer months. We're cleaning up one section of Route 311 in town for a certain number of businesses every week throughout the non-winter months. Because there's trash on the street, and the purveyors of those businesses, or the customers of those businesses, would find it unsightly, and I agree. However, if we're doing it for those groups of businesses, why aren't we doing it for all the others?
Okay, so explain to me on Route 3 on the western part, okay, what businesses have their storefront within 5 feet of the road, and wouldn't they maintain a good appearance on their own property?
You could ask the same thing of the businesses on this section of Route 3 and 11.
Okay, so what are we advocating for here? Sweeping the entire length of Route 3 or discontinuing downtown?
Discontinuing.
Okay, so let's get to that.
The
Got
summer
nothing to do
sweeping.
with Winnisquam and the town line, it's got to do with downtown. So do we continue doing it downtown?
Well, I know the crew has done it before Mike Rabbit has come in, okay? And for us to sweep by hand the main street, both sides, that's not around the island or the fountain or going up by Cumberland Farms. If it's heavy, well, look at it in a good day and a half, okay, with 3 people and a pickup. And that is not cost effective, okay?
I personally don't think that the town of Tilton should be paying anyone to clean up the trash along Route 311 in any section of town.
How does it get picked up?
What are you gonna do, Captain? You're just gonna let it build up and look?
Quite frankly, I clean up the trash, well, beyond my boundary. I go up the top of the hill, and I sometimes go further on the bottom of the hill. But people adopt sections of highways. I'm just trying to find out, why is this section so much more exclusive than any other section of Route 311?
It's the center of our community?
Yes.
I would argue that exit 20 is.
No. Historically, it's right there, right outside this building. If we want to
If we lost
move,
exit 20 and lost that tax revenue, I think you'd be talking different.
no. Quite frankly, if we never had exit 20, we'd be having lots of different conversations.
And also too, just in the town parking lot off Route 3 and off 3 and 11, okay? When we come down on Fridays to pick the garbage up off the main street, we'd also clean in that parking lot, and you should see the mess in there. And that has nothing to do with a state road. That's an owned,
That's our parking lot, though.
parking lot, right.
That is our responsibility. I'm just saying it's not equitable for us to clean a section of Route 311 for one section of businesses.
Yeah, but what
Maybe we
about
should
the
let the
pride of our...
voters decide this and bring it to the town meeting. Do you want to spend $2,300 to keep the downtown section of Main Street clean?
I mean,
I don't
how's it
think
gonna
we should pass
clean?
off our responsibility to the town voters every time an issue comes up. We are responsible for the prudential
If we took-
affairs of the town, and this is one of them.
If we took a vote right now, my vote would be to keep it clean, because I see how quickly in a day that trash builds up, just with people going back and forth, just driving and dropping things. And I know how the parking lots out there are. I would recommend that we sweep it. I'm not sure whether we should sweep it every week, maybe every other week, but I still think that we should sweep it. That's my vote.
Yeah, I do too, because it's a
And the rest of the
reflection on...
businesses along Route 3 and 11 don't get the same courtesy.
But it's not quite the same thing.
Right.
A
This
business is a business is a business, and they're all out there trying
Oh, I
very
know
hard in
that.
this economy and struggling to stay in business.
But the downtown
And we
part...
only are concerned with the atmosphere, the picture quality of this section.
What's
Well,
Selectmen
also, Catherine,
101?
too, okay, when
Not
we
to
do
spend
mowing,
money
okay,
on
like
private
say,
entities.
the island area up
We shouldn't be
there at
spending
Winslow
taxpayer
Market,
dollars to
Yeah.
clean a public highway.
That's
stuff generated on the side of the
taxpayer,
curb,
that's
where you pull in there by the
Selectmen 101.
we sweep all that, we clean that
It's
up,
against.
okay?
Every week?
When we go to mow, yes, we do. Also down here at the parking lot.
Do you clean it in
That's
Lockmere
true.
every
And we
week?
also- And we also, okay, sweep along the curb on Silver Lake. We clean all the catch basins of all the leaves and stuff, and we sweep along there.
We do not sweep Route 311 down through Lockmere
We
and
don't do that on
Winnisquam
a
every
regular
week.
basis, but if there's debris...
The other question is, why are we spending taxpayers' dollars cleaning a street, a highway that isn't ours?
It's
It's not our property.
it's Selectmen 101. You don't
It's not our road. It's a state
municipality
highway.
money on private entities. Do not do that. It's law, it's written, it's black and white.
Well,
Well, the road it's a state road, it's not a private road.
What about
but
civic pride in our community?
Even at
Well,
that, you're
does that
right.
mean we plow Route 311 when they don't?
Well, we do a lot of the state roads
We
now,
plow
don't we?
down here.
We plow down there, we get all the
And we
snow off
take it
the main
away.
We
street.
clean up the snow on Route 311, and I don't agree with it, but we do it.
We do, we plow on from the parking area
Because
to the
the
curb.
reason we do it is because the parking spaces are ours.
Right.
It's
And they
still
plow
part
their
of it.
snow into our parking spaces. So the reason we do that is we get something in return.
Then that space is ours, we should keep it
Keep it
clean. If it's ours, it's not
Well, there you go.
privately owned.
That's a whole different thing,
It's
isn't it?
not ours. We get the use of the parking spaces.
Well, we're
We
not
don't.
spending taxpayers' money for a privately owned road
No,
when
we're
when
spending
it's
it on the
our
private road.
responsibility to do that portion of the road. It's our
It's our
portion.
responsibility to clean the litter up off Route 311, and we should be doing it
Well-
from border to border.
We have, do we, or
Okay,
do
how
we
much
not
does
have an
that cost
agreement
us?
downstairs?
Well, I'm just saying, it's equity. It has to do with equity.
Well,
If we want to single out a section of businesses
it has
to
nothing
make
to
it
do...
to benefit them and not others,
But I don't think it has anything to do with the businesses. It's being done for the people who shop downtown. It's being done for the beauty of the downtown area.
and Lockmere and Winnisquam and West Tilton shouldn't be beautiful as well?
They are, but the problem with those areas is they're more spread out and they don't have the concentration like downtown. There's no room.
So they get more customers, so therefore
No,
they
they
get the
don't get
cleaning.
more
That's
customers.
what you're saying.
But the businesses are set off the road a lot further along Route 3 than
So
they
you
are
don't
in the
notice the trash so
downtown.
much?
No, it
I'm
has
sorry.
nothing to
First
do
thing
with it.
I just think that
It's not, no matter what you say, it's not going to be
We
right.
should be treating everyone
I
equally,
don't
and
know
we
how
are
you
not.
did with the sweep, okay, on the north side of Route 3.
I don't think we
okay?
should be sweeping.
Okay, on the west end of town, because it's all gravel shoulders. What are you gonna sweep, gravel up?
I do not think we should be sweeping any part of Route 311. We clean it up in the spring because the state won't, and it's a safety hazard. Same reason we clean the sand out of the entrance to Manville Road, because the state of New Hampshire has created a situation where when it rains, the sand all flows into that mouth
from the
of the
shoulder.
street. So we do it because they won't, and it's a safety issue.
How long have we been doing the sweeping on downtown Main Street?
Years.
So
How
is there a
many years?
motion in here somewhere?
At least 15 years.
That's correct.
Well, if we're not going to make a motion, let's just move on. If there's a motion, let's vote on it. But if there's not a motion, let's move on.
Why has it increased substantially over the years? We've spent $5,270 this year. Last year, we spent
Depends on how much sand and how much less sand.
$3,662.50, and it looks like we didn't go as many times. We have,
Go back, Catherine, one at a time, and I'll ask you a
Well,
question.
the hourly rate between 12 and 13 jumped 40 bucks an hour.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
Why did it
7,
jump 40 bucks an hour?
8.
Fuel.
1, 2, 3, 4,
Phil,
5, 6.
Joe,
The difference between fuel in 12 and the fuel in 13 is not 40 bucks an hour.
well, Joe, back, you're looking at...
We did more
12 versus
sweeping.
13
Yep.
on the Main Street.
Yeah,
In 12, Mike Rabbit was sweeping the mall, okay? So he was coming up here very early in the morning to sweep the mall, and then he would come after he completed the mall, and then come down here on the Main Street.
yeah.
He no longer got the contract to do the mall.
Ah, that explains that.
So that's the difference.
We were getting a deal, but now the deal went away.
Right, yes.
These reports that I have, this is 2010, are inconsistent. You have sweeping, they came to town in May, which is, I assume, the spring.
Yeah.
They came in July. On July 28th, they came, well, no, they came in June, they came July, August, September. And that looks like October. $3,785, and that's probably, I'm sure the rate has changed since then. But in 2011,
That's consistent with what he's got.
Yep.
in 2011, they came May, August, and September.
Well, I don't know where you get your reports from, okay?
I got them from Tim.
Well, I have all the invoices here for the last 5 years, okay? I can show you
That's when they're
the
paid.
invoices and what we paid.
I got the invoices
in there.
right here.
You don't have the one, if you're saying that June and July, and they didn't go through October, then you're missing a lot of invoices.
The last date on this that they swept was
And what year are you talking?
9/22 in 2011.
9/22 and 2011. They started on 6/3 and then went to 9/22. That's 15 weeks.
No, they started May 18th.
No,
Well,
they
they
don't.
started, the first invoice, it doesn't give a date, but the first invoice is dated May 18th. It just says sweeping roads.
Yeah.
And the total is 2,070, so I assume
That is winter sand.
that's the spring.
That's right to sand.
And then there was an invoice that was generated August 1st, and it says Main Street sweeping 6 days.
What's the dates on it?
It doesn't have a date.
Well, let me just show you what.
And I don't need the date. I'm just telling you
well, I'm
that
just-
if you compare this
Well,
one,
Catherine, I have all the invoices here for 5 years.
it's redundant.
Okay?
On July
And
28th,
they coincide with the figures that I have here, okay? And this is all that we've paid Mike Rabbit. The report there that you have, you don't even have the dates on it. Okay?
August 30th is an invoice that was generated for 8/24, 18, 12, 3, and 7/28. There are dates on some of these, but what I'm telling you is, you know what, it's okay.
Joe?
Madam Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to discontinue the street sweeping on Main Street.
Second, is on the table.
Motion's been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? I'll call the question. All those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
I'm torn.
Abstain?
Abstain.
Catherine, will you please indicate that I voted in the positive for that vote?
Yes, I have it. All right.
I only have a couple other things, okay? I told you the light things, okay?
Yeah.
Mike Somerset for the winter, on-time sidewalk machine person, okay? Last year, okay, I brought him back 11/26 of 12, okay? I've kind of held off a little bit now because the weather's been good, okay? Right now, I've expended the part-time wages, okay? We have spent up to October's expenditure, which it would be known in November anyways. It was $76.35, $7,635. I'd like to bring Mike back 12/16 to the end of the year. The average would be another $1,800 on top of the $76.35, which would give you a total of around $94.35. And in the budget, there's $10,800.
Make a motion that we bring Mike Somerset back part-time for the winter.
At what rate?
15,
What was he paid last year?
same price.
Same price.
hourly rate.
At $15 an hour.
No benefits, no holiday pay. Straight 15.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Yes.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, everybody's in favor.
Okay, good.
There was a discussion that you weren't privy to when we were doing our budget, that you might want to get with Tim with. About the truck.
Okay.
You have plans for a truck, or are you just putting money away for a future truck? Do you plan on buying a truck this
No,
year?
it's how we're planning
How we're
on paying
planning
for
pay
your
for paying.
pickup truck.
Okay.
And
Might
taking it out of the,
encumbered,
not taking it out of the reserve fund.
right, taking it out of encumbered monies if we have it left over, instead of taking it out of the capital reserve and leaving that in there so that you have that.
That would be that much less.
Which I really think that's a smart thing to do, okay? Because the end of next year, I would like to look at a replacement of the backhoe loader, okay? We get pretty close to $6,000 on that, and we've got a few swing problems, okay? But if you did that, that would probably be 125, 130, okay, for a brand new backhoe with all the attachments, okay? And then you look at your fleet. Everything in the fleet is up to date. The only truck that is old but is in good shape is the 90 International. The Peterbilt's a 2005, John's truck's a 99, Fred's is a 90. You got the two pickups, that's a 2008, 2011, and the Tracker, I'm not sure on the hours on that, but that's still in good shape. And if you replace the backhoe, the town will be in excellent shape.
You don't have anything, do you have any plans to put any money in that fund this year?
For
2013?
Well, if we pay for the truck, if the truck is paid for the 550, not out of the capital reserve,
Right, it'll come out of the budget.
out of the budget.
Right now, there's
okay?
$70,062.
Right.
And you're talking of an expenditure in 2015?
End of 14 to 15,
So you're looking at approximately
35.
another 50,000.
well, 35, it could go into the following year, Catherine.
Okay.
Yeah.
How much is our
So we
backhoe
should-
worth now? Come on, $100, $2,000?
I think you'd be lucky to get 10.
Well, that's 10,
Lucky.
even 5.
Yeah, right, right. I think the town would be better off not to trade that, put that out,
Just keep it as a secondary,
No,
keep it
no.
at the,
Put it out beside the road?
put it out the side of the road and sell it privately.
get rid of it.
Right, yes,
So,
yes. But then when you do that, the money you receive from the private sale is a revenue goes back into the
general fund.
reserve fund balance,
General fund.
general fund. Say,
Do you, does your, I know you have a plan for equipment. Is that part of it?
yes, it is.
Okay.
So this,
So do you think we should raise anything for that fund for 2014?
I would like to see it, Catherine, yes.
yeah, because he wants to get the load, that's still in,
Right, but he's saying it could go into 14 or 15, so you could put it in 14,
Oh, I
and then
see
you
what
could
you're
put it
saying.
in 15, but if we split it over 3 years, it's less money.
it brings it up a year.
So
Right.
would you look at that?
Yep, yep.
Yeah, I'll get with 10.
Less is best.
Right, exactly. All right.
Yeah.
Are you all set for the big event on Saturday? What truck are the selectmen riding in?
I think we'll surprise you.
Now, we,
No, it's the 550 Ford,
The one we always ride in?
the one we did summer parade, yes.
The little dump truck.
Little one, yeah.
It's cute.
okay.
I thought that'd be a lot easier for
Well-
you people getting in and out, okay, than the big one.
We have a couple children that are going to accompany us, so
Yeah.
we want to make sure that they're accommodated
Okay.
as well.
We thought we'd set it up the same way that we did the summer parade.
That was
okay,
cool.
But a little bit more festive, and we're gonna put some lights on.
Oh, my goodness.
Does that carry a pallet of candy?
I think it would if we didn't put the hay bales in it.
All
That
right.
pesky fire chief isn't here to keep us from throwing candy.
He hasn't yet.
Well,
I know he hasn't.
when is the pallet of candy being delivered?
Time we leaving tomorrow?
What time will you be in the office tomorrow, Pat?
Coming
It all depends on you
The
coming in
pallet.
to do
So
our
we can
work.
go, so have the credit card.
The pallet.
Okay, good.
Just remember, the pallet of candy. All right, and now, who's driving?
And that is at 3 o'clock at the
At the Union,
school.
right? Right?
Yep.
That's
The
right.
parade starts at 4.
And then you're going to drop us off at Riverfront, right? Yeah. That sounds like a plan.
Yeah.
That's exciting. Are you bringing my chair there, too? Or is it already up there?
The chair for Santa,
My chair for Santa.
Jeez. I don't know if they took it. They had talked about taking it and getting it down there.
You don't want it down there now.
Oh, they put it in the
Oh, in the kitchen thing.
kitchen.
All right.
All right, everything's set for the parade. Who's driving? Arthur?
Afterwards.
Okay,
God, I don't know if they've done that.
great.
No, the chair's still there.
How to do that?
Can your crew get
Put it
that down in the kitchen? Between now and Saturday? Which would be tomorrow?
Yeah.
Okay, I heard it.
I hope it's room,
In the kitchen?
yeah.
You got stuff in there?
Make room, buddy.
Can you lock
Yeah,
it?
we'll get it.
Can you lock it in the bathroom? Nobody's using the bathroom, so.
Oh, just put it at my house, they can walk up and get it. Yeah, that's fine.
Make room.
We'll find a place.
Thank
And
you.
I think it will go, I think it may even fit in the kitchen.
Are we opening
Thank
the
you.
bathrooms for the event?
No, porta potty.
Extra job.
Oh,
Porta
okay.
potty. No, they've already closed those and we're good to go for the winter, so we rent a handicap porta potty
Oh, okay.
for one day.
Just so there's something there, all those
Yeah.
kids and
Or
hot
handicap porta
chocolate.
potty.
Okay, all right.
All right, thank you so much, I appreciate
Thank
it.
you, Dennis.
And you know, at the end of the year, we always kind of look back and think about what our employees do and what they mean to us, as me personally, as a selectman. And I got to say, kudos to the highway department, because they have jumped in where it's not their job description, and we pick up the phone and we say, hey, can you help me out? Can you bail me out? Can you do this? And you've always been there for us, the seniors, whatever, parks, however you want, whatever department it is, you've been there, and you moaned a couple of times, but, no, I'm just kidding. But I truly appreciate that.
Great.
Yes,
I truly appreciate that.
we all
Yeah.
appreciate
We check it every morning.
I know, it gets vandalized. I've got to get a key to it.
Now, that's the next thing. Who is gonna
Got your mouse here,
pull the
Joe.
switch?
Yeah,
I don't know.
when Santa comes by, we got to do that.
Let's not
No one will touch any
make
of
a
it.
mistake like we did a few years ago. Who's gonna be appointed, so maybe we
Take
can do that
that, put
person,
in your office.
unlock the panel and show him, okay?
Last year,
him or
wasn't it
her,
Billy or somebody?
Whoever's
I
gonna do it.
messed up, I don't know.
Come on, Joyce.
I know you showed me once, but I don't
should.
remember.
Yeah.
Why don't I hook up with you tomorrow sometime? What's good for you, first thing, or?
You sure?
Yeah, first thing tomorrow when you come in, Paula.
What time is that? I mean, I'm up at 5, so first thing for me is, okay? Oh,
You're late.
Bye-bye.
Oh, you're not working tomorrow?
no, how about,
okay, okay.
how
If
there's
about
something
7:15?
urgent, we'll do it.
That's fine, yeah.
Because I just realized I
Is there
gotta
anything
get
urgent?
Gabby on the bus.
Yep,
Nothing urgent.
All right,
okay.
I'll get her on the bus and I'll drive down there. I'll meet you at
All
the
right.
garage.
Right, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect.
Yeah, okay. Then we should be all set.
And we must have a key here in Town Hall for the box, right?
We have one.
We don't have one here?
I don't know.
For
if we do.
the tree,
For the
the tree.
electrical box, for the big tree?
I'll check. I thought Dennis was the only one that had it, but I'll check. To myself.
It's right, my desk, right in the tray up there.
Okay,
I mean, we have 101
Yeah.
different keys, so.
all right,
That's all.
perfect, I'll see you in the morning then.
Good.
Thank you, Dennis.
Good night,
Night.
Mr. Allen.
Okay, Joyce had to leave, miscommunication there. So, there's a couple items in the to-be-signed folder that she was going to explain to us. I haven't signed, I want an explanation for first. So we'll take those up next week.
Chief left?
Nope, he'll be back, he's just downstairs.
Oh, okay.
Could you see if the chief will come up, because I have something to say to the chief?
I will, I have to run downstairs anyway.
Okay, good.
Does it have to do with detail cards?
Yes.
Because if you don't, I have
I am
something to
saying,
say.
and I'm going to make a motion for policy.
I think we have a policy, but let's make it really, really, really clear.
Very specific. Once a month, first Thursday of every month. While they're doing that, I just wanted to give you in today's, in December's Tilton Senior Center newsletter, it said there is a seasonal card-making class. All supplies will be provided to you and will be led through the steps, creating lovely cards for holiday giving. Use your imagination or follow the examples provided, December 9th and 10 at 10 a.m. Thanks to a wonderful donation from the town of Tilton, there is no charge for this class. And that's thanks to the contribution from, we made a motion for crafts over on Prospect Street.
Oh,
So it's been put to good use, and I just wanted to make sure that you knew that. Pines Center went first, and then we went after that. Okay. Next on our list, Chief, we have a couple of things we'd like to run by you.
Yeah.
So can you come up?
Sure.
You're on the hot seat.
Coming up.
You're on the hot seat, and I apologize for putting you on the hot seat, but things came up last night, so last night we were sitting in the Budget Committee, and since I've been a selectman, it seems that every year this is brought up. Well, several times a year this is brought up. And I thought we had a handle on this pretty much last year when we were asked about rotation of the detail cars, and that you have a rotation and the new cars are being used for frontline, and then the older cars are being used for detail. They've asked consistently for mileage updates, and we're not getting the mileage updates. So that was another issue with them last night. But something that really bothers me, and we've seen it around town the last month or so, in talking individually with other selectmen, they have also seen it other places, that there have been details with more than one vehicle there, with lights and the motor running, and it looks like it's wasted resources. And, you know, perspective is 90% of what's going on with the public. And when you're on Route 3 and you have 3 cruises and they're all lined up on Route 3 and they're all crunched over talking to each other for an hour, that is a perception that we don't want to have to happen, because they're looking and saying, well, we don't have anything to do. Okay? And we had a vehicle parked at the craft fair, the senior craft fair, at the old Agway building, and explorers were directing traffic. But then we had a cruiser come, parked on Main Street, and then another cruiser behind that. And these are all phone calls that I've fielded, and then last night when I came to the Budget Committee, there were a lot of people questioning that, and that's all on video. So at the end of the session, I finally said to the Budget Committee that if that happens, I want to be notified ASAP. You all have my cell phone number, and that's it. So enough is enough. I think that we as a Board of Selectmen have exhausted all means to try to get a list of vehicle maintenance, a rotation list, and mileage. So I'm going to make it a motion as a policy that the chief or his designee, by the first Thursday of every month, will supply us with a vehicle list, mileage, maintenance, and a rotation list. And that way I can disperse it to the departments that are asking for it.
Second.
All right, go ahead, discussion.
Dennis sends the vehicle maintenance stuff to him.
But not all the, and that's another thing, not all the maintenance is going through Dennis, though. We're seeing invoices here that are automatically going through, going over to AutoServe or some places.
Yeah, depending on the, you're right, depending on the issue. Some stuff, if it's in the middle of the night or middle of the weekend, or if it's something that they don't do, we send it over there.
But that choice isn't the PD's. When that policy was made, and it was 6 years ago, the vehicle goes to Public Works, or Public Works is at least called, and Public Works makes the decision whether or not they're not able to repair that vehicle because they don't have tools or whatever, and then it goes. You know, there's a cost in here, $271.37 that went to AutoServe, and it was a simple repair. It was a cable, right here. So it was a shift cable and adjustment, shifter cable, blah, blah, blah. So you have parts of $60.08. You have labor of $186.80. Now, that labor would have been half that.
Is that something that he would have been able to do?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. So...
What car was it?
It was the 2010 Ford Crown Victoria.
Front line.
I think that happened on the...
But it should have been, if it was towed
Left off to the
down there,
garage.
and then another car used, because, it, you know, I don't know when you
Saturday,
got
not all the cars are used, right?
Yeah.
Depends if it's his events going on, or there could be events on Saturday.
Yeah, you're right.
So they had it for 3 days. Date in, 11/22, date out, 11/25. So it wasn't as though he waited and they fixed it and he was back on the road. According to this, they had it for 3 days. But nevertheless, those decisions are supposed to be made down there, whether or not they can fix them or not.
You know,
It saves us a lot of money.
I
Or
really,
saves the taxpayers.
we've been asked this, I don't know how many times in different, I've talked to you about this, I don't know how many different times, that when policemen take a detail, and, the craft fair wasn't a detail. I mean, that was just somebody that, was just stopping by to check on the explorers, and somebody decided to stop in and check on them, and they were just talking. But the perception was there was 3 cruises out there on the side of Route 3 and a 4th one parked.
Was this at the craft fair?
Yes.
Yeah. Saturday.
I guess, I asked them to make sure they kept an eye on the traffic there, because I wanted to make, it wasn't a for-profit event, I think it was for the...
Well, the first phone call I got was after I left the craft fair in the afternoon. I got it, and they said, well, does it really make sense for offices to, you have a 3-lane going into a 2-lane, just when it goes into a 2-lane, they're sitting there on the side of the road.
Right.
It's like, those are the kinds of questions that I'm getting asked, and I can't answer them unless I know what the officer is thinking, and I don't know what the officer is thinking, so I'm going to refer them to you.
I'll look into it. The only thing I tell people is if they get over to you and it's a Saturday and they go, why don't we get together, if someone can call me, I'll get an answer right away. I'll call a supervisor and say, is there something going on? Are they looking for a burglary suspect from Laconia, or are they just
Well, like Sunday, when I was there, when I went out to get in the car, I stayed a few minutes because someone came out and spoke to me from the event. But anyway, there was the Explorers, and then 2 police cars pulled up, and they stopped, and they were all just standing there gabbing with each other, and laughing and having a conversation. And then when I got in the car to leave, I mean, they weren't watching traffic or anything. They were, maybe out of the corners of their eye, they could see if there were cars coming. I don't know. I'm not going to say they weren't watching. But they were very involved in their conversation with the explorers, just back and forth, just socializing. I guess, I even thought to myself, well, they're probably just stopping to check to see how things are going. But, when I finally got in the car and left, they were still there, and, it wasn't like they were doing anything other than just gabbing. So, you could say, well, I guess they were taking a break, and they decided to swing by there and talk to the explorers a little bit. But they were there, and, all the police cars were lined up behind each other, so, and then as I was pulling out, another police car was coming by and slowing up. I was just checking to see why so many police were there. But anyway, it just, it doesn't look good. I didn't think much about it. I just figured what I figured, that they were stopping by to check on the explorers, but the public, especially when they get their tax bills, and they were just out frequently, it's like, wow, if they have nothing to do, why have we got all these police that are doing this? Why aren't they out doing something else? So, it doesn't look good. And the comments that I've had, like at the food market when I was in there, somebody came up and said, how come it took so many police? What was that, because it was a senior center? So comments like that.
I didn't want 3 cars. I did say keep an eye on the place, make sure people get in and out safely. I didn't know how many people were going to show up.
How long were they there?
Well, I told
The afternoon they were.
them to rotate in and out, so like one car would have an hour, then, you take off, and then another one come in, but I wanted to make sure there was at least one car there throughout the day.
I think that's reasonable, but when they were...
If they were changing it,
there in a
at the
group,
hour.
how long was the group there? I heard a report that at least, when I went by, there were 3 cruisers.
Yes.
And the Explorers. But I heard someone say last night that there were 3 cruisers
Right.
at one point, and the Explorers, so.
Might have been
when they
one.
grouped, I mean, one could have been coming in to relieve the other, and of course, they're going to chat, they're human, that's
Paulus might have went
reasonable.
by to give them orders and see how it's going.
Right,
And-
filling them in?
Yeah, because I
Well,
did.
the
I did
report
talk-
was that they were there over an hour because the person went
Okay.
into the craft fair, did some shopping, and then came out, and they were still chatting, went down to Cumberland Farms, got gas in their car, and then went home up to Lockmere, and they was past them, and they were still chatting. So
that's-
that was the report that I got. But, you know, I don't think that we need to be not blindsided, but that's what it was last night. I mean, there was quite a discussion last night in the Budget Committee about details and
Excessive parking
Chief.
of cars.
Chief,
Yeah.
why would a frontline cruiser be on a detail?
I can't think of, unless they were all tied up, there wouldn't be a reason for it. I mean,
Come on, man, that parking lot full of cars down there with flashing lights, why would a frontline, in spite of our,
if you drive by and there's a frontline car there, it could be because the detail guy went to the bathroom or had to run down to the court, so he's covering for an hour. I mean, there's reasons they might be there.
And-
The frontline cars are never taken to a detail for a whole detail.
well, I've never seen one personally, but last night I
That was
heard it
mentioned
from a
last
couple of
night. Yes.
people, and then I was asking around, and people who have noticed this very same thing.
I've never seen one.
I've heard duty cars get asked to go relieve a guy to go to the bathroom, or when all of a sudden the
Yeah.
judge wants to see one, hey, duty car, run over to, the entrance to Walmart and relieve that guy. Judge Gordon wants to see him right now. So now you're going to drive by, you're going to see the duty car parked there.
Well, that's reasonable.
Yeah.
Well, that is
And there's
reasonable,
no-
but I just wanted to know why they're never, ever sent as a car for a detail.
Never.
Right.
Okay.
And I'll underline never.
Well, I
Okay.
mean, knowing something
Very
like that, I
reasonable.
mean, we can always say things like that when people talk to us, say, well, you don't know, maybe he had to relieve the guy for a few minutes, or, things like that, but it is kind of hard when you're confronted with that, and it's
You
like,
don't know what this, yeah. I mean,
Well, to get right down to it, and the bottom line is, excessive means 3 cops standing there talking with each other, 3 vehicles, lights on, running, is excessive.
but I think,
Can't happen, doesn't matter how it is, no matter what they're switching.
Right.
3 cars should never be involved.
but
ever.
one thing I didn't agree with the Budget Committee last night is when I walked out to
They
the
shouldn't
car,
be sitting
although
right
one
out
of the
in
cars
public
had the
view,
lights
it's
on,
just
and now
like
you can tell me
waving
if
at
I'm
other
wrong,
people's nose.
but as far as I
Bare
was
minimum.
concerned, the car was turned off. It
There
wasn't
was one
running.
car turned off, there was
Yes.
just on the
Yeah.
grass
Yeah. But
you enter.
But a car stopped, and his engine was turned off, and maybe I just didn't hear it, because it was, but his lights were flashing, but there were no engine noises. So I didn't know, we thought maybe with the new cars, if he stopped to, check on things, that, do the new cars have to be on to,
No, they don't.
The old ones do.
right, so
ones they
the
don't.
the car that stopped, he stopped in the back, and he had his lights flashing, but his motor wasn't running. Because I was parked right there, pulled in, and they were right here, and there was just grass between them and where my car was parked. And so, I had said last night, I said, well, depending on, I don't know about all the cars, but this car, the motor wasn't running, even though the lights were on. But he was the last one in the line, and if he stopped to see what was going on, he might have just left his lights on.
Yeah,
You know, but
temporary, you could actually shut the car off.
Yeah.
If you're not going to be there for a
Right.
So, that was probably doing the right thing.
Yeah,
Like, I'm not going to be here that long. Maybe he was going up to talk to them
yeah.
about something.
Oh, well, I don't know. I didn't walk out and talk to him and say, hey, how come we got 3 cop cars here? This is a pretty docile event here. I mean, it's not radical at all.
Any more? I'm going to call the question. All those in favor of the motion for the policy?
Aye.
Aye. To report the first Thursday of every month for the
Oh, okay, aye.
mileage. Aye. Everybody approves. You were not here last week this last week or the week before, we asked, we made a motion to make it a policy for department heads once a month. Not particularly important for you, because I think that the public really needs to hear what you do.
Yeah.
You know, I see it on Facebook, you have 246 calls and this, but I think that once a month, we have a letter going out to you in health officer, code enforcement. We want to hear once a month that this is what your report is, this is what you've done, this is what your department is up, you know, an update on your department. And I think that that's really going to be important, particularly people that watch the videos here, of what you do. A lot of people see the cars, but they don't know what you're doing. And, you know, when you go on 246 calls or 289 calls and 316 calls in a week, you know,
Just justifies the cost.
it justifies it, and, you know,
Well,
when
it
you have
certainly
16
explains it.
burglaries and, you know, thefts, and there was a whole line of Walmart and Kohl's last week, Black Friday, and, you know, there was a lot on the Facebook page that I read, and kudos to the men that helped during that, because that was, men and women, I should say now. That was a busy week for you folks. But, so now it's the once a month, and I think that's what the letter says, right, Catherine?
Yeah.
You got the letter?
I flagged it in my calendar
Okay.
already.
And that's why we want to have it, because I think that the public really, we need to know, and I think the public needs to know
Yeah, I think it will
what's
help
going on.
tremendously, because at least they know what's going on.
Yeah, it's good for us to have the time to,
Yep.
because I know some people do watch and
Yep.
they'll get to hear what's going on.
Right, and then if you have a particular thing that's going on that maybe perhaps it's in prosecution this week, or maybe it's detectives, or maybe it's, you know, in training or something, if you have an issue that you want to bring up, that's the time to bring it up.
No, it's good.
So that's good. All right. Thank you. We've got a little bit of time to get through selectmen's reports and minutes. And then we have the swearing in of officer, a promotion, and a dedication.
Oh, I keep taking this and reading things.
You can have it.
No.
It's extra. I just wanted to make sure that everybody knew
Yeah.
that was in there. Okay, make a motion, we bring the minutes of 11:07 to the floor for approval.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yes.
You could do this part, I'm gonna go downstairs.
Page 2, down at the bottom under town administrator. LGC didn't go away, did it?
The name is changed, yes. I changed the name.
Well, that sentence seems to me to indicate that the local government center is no longer working.
Well, that's exactly right. It's no
It's
longer.
now operating as a different entity, but it's not gone.
I think it's just the municipal health part left LGC.
Yeah, LGC
Became
still
its own
exists,
com-
but they no longer, they spun off a different organization.
Right, for the health.
I talked to Joyce about it, but that's not
Okay.
what she said.
Because that, I didn't, my goodness. I know the insurance stuff is all separate.
Yeah. They make separate companies out of that.
Yeah.
And you get the big discounts. Let's go.
Page 6, well, not the very last paragraph, but right up above that, Catherine. Selectmen Jessamine discussed a check in the amount of $5,576 to the Winnisquam School District. That was, could you add something in there to explain that it was for the unaccounted for fuel from the USD?
Beeping.
So, thank you.
Now, page 6, I don't know. It looks like at the very top of the page, it's got the planning board checked with other towns, and you read that, and then it ends with Selectman Plessner will obtain policies from, and it just stops. But then if you read the next line, it says, it looks like the same paragraph has been repeated. Selectman Plessner informed the board that the planning board has received a request from an individual to start a taxi cab business. Planning board checked with other towns, which is the same as up there. But now this one finishes, so it just looks like you need to...
Yeah, it is repeated.
Yeah.
You need to take just the one paragraph out. Yeah.
All that extra typing for nothing, Catherine.
And then at the very end, did you, you missed, in PM, it's, you just have a P after 7:45?
Okay.
Make a motion, we accept the minutes of 11:07 as corrected.
Second?
All those in favor?
Yes.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Catherine, we'll start with you.
I'm all set.
But do you have that concern on the health officer issue?
We can talk, we can talk about that. I have property in the east end of town that I issued a 147 nuisance complaint. I had residents near them call me and complain about smell, and then I had residents call and complain about rodents. Al and I went over and looked, and it was definitely, they've created a haven for possum, mice, and rats and stuff. They have a lot of newspapers and cardboard type stuff stored in some storage buildings on the property. Their cleanup deadline was the week before Thanksgiving. They called and wrote and requested an extension. That extension was until the 7th, which is Saturday. My question to the Board of Health is, I will look at it Saturday to see if they have sufficiently cleaned it up. Do we want to go to the expense of having the town clean it up and then bill them? And then if they don't pay, it will be collected as taxes, and et cetera, et cetera. It's not cut and dry. The problem is there are other items there, such as broken lawn furniture, barbecues, miscellaneous things like that, that, I couldn't say that's breeding ground for rodents. So I couldn't require them to clean that up if they chose not to. It would be difficult for the Public Works to go over there. I mean, I'd go with them if it came to that. I guess I'm just not inclined to spend town dollars at this point to clean it up. I would like to work with them longer. I don't know what you all think, but...
No, I would agree.
How much longer is longer, Catherine? Because if there's no repercussions, your orders mean nothing.
Well,
That place?
that's the place. Yeah. And keep in mind...
You were only complaining about the newspapers.
Well, you have to keep in mind that a nuisance, it isn't a public health nuisance. So when somebody called me up and complained of
I know where
smell,
that is.
it wasn't a public health nuisance, because it's subjective. Somebody's
One man's
foul
trash.
smell might not be my foul smell.
Yep.
But once rodents emanating from this property were infiltrating other people's property, now it becomes a public health nuisance.
Right.
Well, all of that stuff provides haven for small rodents, animals of various descriptions.
Well, not a broken lawn chair,
Well, okay, leave the lawn chairs and clean up the other ton of,
not a right, exactly, so you
it's
can
the
see the
volume of
picture,
it.
right.
It's the volume of it.
And since that picture was taken, there has been some improvement. But that's my point. They've made some improvement. And your question is the issue. How long do we work with them?
He's got to know that there's a date.
Right,
You're going to have snow soon.
They
right.
said.
And, yeah, well, he had a date, and now he's got another date, and then he'll have another
Right.
date, and other people will say, yeah, okay, that means
So
nothing.
my suggestion, is, because his deadline date is Saturday, that I'll have a conversation with him Saturday. And
I would
If
do it Monday.
if
Yeah,
it's
I'll do it
not
on the
cleaned
weekend.
up, then, you know,
We'll go Monday.
they have until, okay, we'll go Monday. They'll have until Wednesday, because we will meet Thursday.
Right. And we
then
can make a
decision.
make a decision Thursday.
I think we bring down that dump truck and a bucket loader, and we just scoop it up.
Well,
Or some version thereof.
right, it's difficult,
Yeah, you
because
can't
like
go
I
on the
said, you
can't
can't.
just do
yeah.
that, you know, you have to
Actually,
have
it's a
There's a
ground.
process we'd have to go through to do it,
Right.
but nevertheless, so that's my plan, is to have a conversation with them
Do we need to hire a lawyer?
Monday.
Well, I was gonna say,
No, we don't need a lawyer.
I don't know if you were a selectman at the time, but there was a place that was
That's
probably even worse than that on
that's
Winter Street.
just nasty.
Yes, I was involved in that.
So, you know, that gives you, you know,
We'll
That's
go with you
different.
Monday.
That's not a 147.
right,
We'll tell
That was from the
you.
code enforcement office,
right,
and that was because it was,
yes.
it was something, it was a fire hazard, it was
Right.
just awful. This, it has, it's a public nuisance. I declared it as such because the rodents aren't just living on their property, they're
Right.
now visiting
Right.
other people's.
You can actually,
And they're carriers of disease.
you can actually claim it as a junkyard too.
Yes,
Well, and that would come into your jurisdiction. So,
If things doesn't happen, we'll just.
yeah.
yep,
So
Switch over
I'll
to Plan B.
I'll let you know Thursday. Well, we'll let you know, because Al and I have been working on this together, what happens with that, and thank you for reminding me of that. Other than that, we dealt with everything else I had to.
Okay. Al, you got anything for us?
This week.
Who?
So I'm good this week.
Okay.
Joe?
Oh, yeah. But I've whittled it down to one thing that's most important. The Tilton franchise agreement with MetroCast. If we ever had one, it would have expired on the 31st. We need to get Moira Campbell, contact Moira Campbell, and Steve Marucci, he's an Italian guy. Nice guy, too. In any case, we need to get him in here so that we can have our negotiations. I can get the template from Kate as we've changed it and what have you, with the final additions to the template. And we can sit down and see if, all of the things in the template, MetroCast has already agreed to. So it's only the Tilton-specific things that we would need to negotiate.
okay.
And we can move forward and get that taken care of.
Well, let's do it then.
Okey dokey. Catherine, could you leave Joyce a note to call Moira Campbell at MetroCast to set up a time to negotiate, preferably a Thursday?
Do you want this before,
The end of the year?
when
Does this need to be done before the end of the year?
And absolutely positively, no. but if we can complete it before the end of the year, hallelujah. I think we should at least talk to them prior to the end of the year to see how close we are, and even if it has to carry over, they've indicated a willingness to
Okay.
not turn us off on the 31st, so.
I would suggest that it would be also a time that Tim could be there as well.
Right.
Absolutely. Because he's the technology director, certainly.
Okay, we can set that up. Sandy, do you have anything? Is that it? Joe, you have anything?
I have little things, but it can wait. I know we're going to have time constraint coming up.
Oh, we got a little bit of time.
Oh, okay. In that case.
Hold the boat.
No, it's not like that. I just wanted to give a little reading of the chart that Tim made us for the recycling, so that people would know that in the 3 months from September, October, November, that we have so far reduced our residential tonnage by 145 tons over last year.
What percentage of our total tonnage is that?
42.6 for those particular months. So the recycling part of that was sent to the recycling does not add up to 42.6. It's almost 26%. So that means that the difference between 26 and 42.6, which is 14 or thereabouts percent, is accounted for in a variety of ways. Some places that were on curbside went to dumpsters. There's some rethinking your choices, buying things in cardboard instead of styrofoam. There is composting, and I've seen a lot of people take it composting, because that's a very heavy part of the garbage, and those who have the facility to have a composting area on their property totally makes sense. Some of it I can't account for, the ghost tonnage. It just vanishes in the wind. And I'm not sure whether they're bringing it to Cumberland Farms and dumping it in the trash on the gas island, or bringing it to work, or exactly what. There has been some beside the road garbage, not an excessive amount, and certainly not anything that would account for all of the tons that we're talking about here. In any case, we are reducing our MSW going to the incinerator. Our increased recycling is far and away what we have been. Still don't have solid figures for the bags. I know we've collected approximately $18,000 thus far. We have spent all of that in curbside collection costs, certainly, but we don't know how much is out there right now. I'm going to be getting in touch with Waste Zero to try to get a handle better on how much the float is, because it's 45 to 60 days between ordering and paying and Waste Zero actually putting money into our account. We have 3 months of reliable data. August was the amnesty weeks, basically. We started in the middle of the month, and it was 2 weeks of amnesty. We still had 5 tons of recycling that went, but we're far in excess of that. We had 31 tons during 1 month, so. Or 31% recycling, I should say. I don't have this does not have the figures as far as the tonnage, is just the percentages.
Do you want the sheet that we got from?
And I think that this is just a preliminary report. I can attest to the 42.6% reduction in MSW versus last year. I'm still gathering information, and that is my recycling report for today.
Nice job.
No, thank you very much. And I would like to see whatever happened to our recycle container for upstairs. Seems like we need a regular, over at the corner, not necessarily that plastic bag
right.
thing that we
We
haven't.
haven't needed it. I mean,
We filled up the other one, and I'm guessing that some recycling's
gone
going.
for
A month or so.
Well, there's a box over there, we're putting all the bottles, and they've been emptying the box.
And there's
Okay,
another
can we
one
put
over
it
there.
somewhere where people have access to it? I just want something they can see. Is it all right if I talk to Dennis, maybe he's got one of those little recycle 35-gallon ones or something to put over there?
No,
Why?
because they're ugly and nasty and in the way. And they stink.
In the way of what?
People walking.
Dancing?
Look at how,
We'll find a place, I think I want a recycle container. Let me come up with something, Catherine, that even you can love.
for over a month now, for at least 3
And
months.
I've been asking.
We've been making do with what we have.
Yeah, and
I've
it's a problem for me. And I've been asking, where is the recycle container? And I understand that other recycle container, is that where it is? Well, at least the mystery is solved. Let me come up with a few ideas that aesthetically might be more pleasing. Thank you very much.
Some dates to remember, this Saturday is the Christmas parade. All the selectmen are going to be in 3 o'clock. 3 o'clock, right?
Yeah.
Another date to remember is February 1st, correct, is Dickie's retirement party?
Yes.
December 20th is our, I got to read this, though, so everybody gets to know the same thing. So they hear me say the same things, and then everybody will say, well, I didn't hear that. The Town of Tilton employees and their spouse, significant others are invited to a holiday gathering on Friday, December 20th at Tilton offices. Town Hall will be closing at 1.
That's the whole town hall?
Yep.
Well, we definitely need a recycle container then. I'm just saying.
I'm just saying, too.
Put it in the hallway.
Any other significant dates that we should announce before?
I'm signing the damn petition.
Where town offices are
I
closed
would expect nothing less, Catherine.
at noon on the 24th, correct?
Yes.
Noon or 1, I thought you said.
1?
I thought you said 1.
Hell, I'll sign the
Said
petition.
1.
I think we should have a
Half a
discussion.
day is 8 to 12.
No ambiguity. Let's get it out there.
We could change it. Normally, it has been noon, but
Why are we making them stay through their lunch hour?
I know.
What are we
Did we
discussing?
make a motion to that effect last week? Do you remember what the
just
motion?
agreed, it was a consensus of the board.
It wasn't a motion, it was just consensus?
Consensus.
So I make a motion that we close the office Christmas Eve at noon.
Second?
I second, yeah.
What day of the week is that?
Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Christmas is Wednesday.
Are we open Thursday and Friday?
Yep. Well, I was getting them done. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
All those opposed?
Opposed?
Aye.
Bah humbug.
So noted.
No, it's not bah humbug. We said 1 o'clock. Some people are going to do business, they get out, I got my lunch hour, I'll get off at noon, race on down to Town Hall, up, nobody's here.
That's what I'm thinking, too.
We just, I just asked that question. Where were you?
I was still processing.
Oh!
I heard you say, I heard you ask it.
I was
Thinking
still
about it.
processing
Yeah.
the whole thing.
So wasn't I.
But hey, look, you got 3 votes to close at noon, we're closed at noon.
I just,
I love democracy. I don't have to agree with everything, but
it doesn't matter to me. I just want to make sure that if we say a half a day, then a half a day is 8 to 12 is a half a day. It doesn't matter to me.
okay.
What time do we
And that's
normally
the-
close?
That was the vote. That was the vote.
Noon.
So we made a mistake when we did it before.
When we consensus, and we didn't make a motion, it was just, consensus was one.
Hey, it is what it is. I want to see them have time to do what they got to do.
Take a whole week. Dying.
There you go. Al won't be here anyway. Code enforcement will be closed that day.
Sandy, do you have anything for us?
Yes, I just wanted to let the board know that the next Tilton Hazard Mitigation Plan meeting is going to be December 13th here at the Town Hall, and it's at 10 a.m. And I received some suggestions from the chief on the taxi regulation or ordinance, and I will be going down to Concord one day next week because we have, and I will be checking on the liability issue that you brought up. And also, we're going down to discuss some zoning ordinances that we're proposing, and I want to make sure that there's nothing in them that shouldn't be tweaked. Yes.
What happened to the guy who wanted to, well, I'm assuming it's a guy who wanted to start a taxi company?
Well, Gus called him and told him that what would be required of him and that he could move forward because we don't have anything.
Okay, this is a future taxi situation.
Right.
Okay. For all the taxi companies that are going to flood into Tilton now.
Well, we may not get another one, we may. You know.
If we didn't do anything, then they would.
They would, right.
Like hairdressing places, we're gonna have plenty of them.
Or barbershops, we have a new barbershop
Well,
coming
Oh,
in.
that's hairdressing.
He'd have to be required to adhere to any safety issues that
Yes.
come out of this.
Right.
He just wouldn't have to site plan.
Right.
Do you have a question on this?
I did. I think I know the answer, but I'm not positive I know the answer. The 4805 for coffee at the senior center.
Yes. It comes out of donations and donations from the
Okay.
senior center. We order it from Donahue Brothers by the case,
I thought that was the case.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
and then it gets reimbursed by,
You're right, it was a case. See?
Oh, hey, I wasn't sure. so
sometimes it's...
I asked that the first time I saw it.
Yeah, sometimes...
What you talking about, Willis?
See? Not alone.
Sometimes it's 96 because it's a case of decaf and a case of regular.
Thank you, sir. Did you give me a copy of your...
Big Tim.
You forgot.
For the license?
Was chocolating out.
Yeah, the license as well, it's 125, correct?
Chocolate it out.
Lots of years.
Wait, yeah, I'm...
Think about this, because this coming week, I'm gonna come in one day and talk to you about that very thing. I wanna go somewhere with that.
I'll give you mine.
That can't be right.
Signature,
Here, here's another one.
exactly, signature thing, some of those,
Lights on the dump truck.
some need to be talked out, or we
Have a
How
little
can there be
wreath,
no overtime in
dress
the PD?
Arthur up as Santa.
Okay,
Dennis can be the elf.
That's a supplemental one. It was for one
Gotta have
employee.
an elf.
There's 2 payrolls you have to sign there.
yes, I saw that.
Where's the real one?
What I'd recommend too is that you take a look at the column headings, make sure this is the information you want. I think I mentioned the last time you saw this report, I was asked to put in the budget transfers, which is that 2, 3, 4th column from the left. So that shows where money went in or came out. And if you were to go to the very bottom of the report, it totals up to 0, which it should. The pluses should equal the minuses, because it's just money being moved. It's not added or subtracted from the
Right.
budget.
This department request versus 2013,
Yeah, I can get rid of
that
it.
column is very deceiving.
Yep.
Because if you look at,
Well, that's what I was, yeah.
Right.
Be happy to get rid of it if you want me to.
But isn't that where we started from, really?
No, it's what ended up being the
Original
current budget.
request, wasn't it?
No, that
No?
is versus the authorized budget for 2013. In other words, what did the budget end up being after changes to the budget?
Mary,
Oh,
And that sort of thing.
yeah, okay, no.
Okay, so I can remove that column.
so it really is
I always
deceptive. and-
ignored it, but
Yeah.
Right,
it wasn't even what I thought it was.
Right.
right.
Which one are we talking about here?
It's under the 2014.
Yeah, the request.
Yeah, it's, well, the department, it's comparing what was requested from the department head versus what the end authorized budget for 2013 was.
I see. I kind of like to know what the difference was, up or down.
Well, it
It gives you that.
gives you it, but it's deceiving. Look at it from the perspective of a budget committee sitting there. They're going to look at it like one column here is, hi there.
Hi.
Yep, come on in. Come on in, sit down, sure.
Come sit down.
Have a cookie.
There's a cookie up here. If you like, give your little girl a cookie.
Cookie Monster.
If you look on, Joe, look on page 4 of 8. Just imagine what they would say when you say 4,634.5%.
Yeah. How do you explain that? Now, see, for our purposes,
Right.
I like having that column, but for
Exactly.
their purposes, maybe not so much,
So I'd
because that could be very confusing.
be more than happy to get rid of that.
Oh, I think they'd figure it out.
Yeah, but the questions, some of the guys have, they don't understand
Right.
necessarily at first, and it just draws things out.
Challenges us to explain.
That's true, democracy, Catherine.
She's fine. She's fine. She can walk around. Don't worry about it. Okay.
It's all right, I was doing that earlier.
We can swear her in. We can swear her in.
Me at about 2 o'clock this afternoon.
Oh, on the mic. She, as long as she sings well, she can have it.
Yeah,
Just unplug it and give it to her.
That's right.
yeah, I can see the drool down in the, never mind.
So in any event, other than that, I can also take out that, I don't know if you see that, it's really not a very obvious column, but there's a triangle,
Yep.
delta, which just takes up a little extra space, so I might actually be able to increase the size of the, no, I'm not
Is
sure.
there anything in the Delta?
No, not as yet.
New Orleans, but...
What we used to use that for was if from one column to the next you had changes, I would shade that column so you'd see a little shaded box next to it.
Right. Personally, I would take out that column, but,
Yep.
and then I think the rest looks, the budget transfers are very necessary for them to see. The percent used, I'm all for
Yeah,
that.
and that says.
What we voted on, yep.
Right. Yep.
I think everything else looks fine.
Then I'll also talk to Joyce about processing the rest of the capital reserve items that need to go into the capital reserve fund,
Right.
so that we make sure we get it in before year end.
I like the back page where it says recommended budget selectmen, $4,891,770, and the budget committees is $162,453.
That's why they're the budget
They
committee.
are so conservative.
I think you're missing a formula in that box.
Well, no, that's what they've approved.
That's what they've
so-
approved so
Oh.
far.
Yeah. So as they update theirs and
I
approve
see.
departments and so on, and that will obviously change.
All right.
I hope it does.
So the majority of the increase from the $4,890,270, the majority of the increase is,
I would say the majority is PD, followed by IT and admin.
Okay.
So the admin being the insurances, which were significantly higher,
Right.
both in property liability and workers' comp, because we're not getting a discount. And then also the fire mutual,
Right.
the mutual aid dispatch.
Great.
So when you look at those three alone in admin, that's probably about 50 to 60,000 there.
Right.
But the IT, you'd have to know how much was actually taken out of
Out of the
other line
department.
Where
items.
it came
put
from,
there,
in the other budget.
Use it, because
Really,
quite
how much?
frankly, there isn't a whole lot of, well,
Right.
It's a little bit, because we're buying equipment.
40% would be due
We
to...
bought equipment last year, though. Well, how
Yeah.
much of an increase are you actually going just for IT, do you feel, based on what we transferred out of the departments, total transferred out of the departments?
Well,
Less than what we spent last year.
it's a good question. I'd have to really look at that closely to give you a good
Okay.
answer.
Can we have that before the 11th?
I bet it's
Yeah.
about a third of
Well, or can you have that before the
Ask me that
11th?
question again.
Well, what would be the difference between what you had planned last year for IT telephone, before we created the IT department,
Okay.
and then versus what you're asking for this year?
Sure. No, I can
I'm
give
sure
it.
that's going to be one of the questions,
Yep.
Sure.
and I think it's
Certainly
going to,
gonna be higher.
but I don't think it's going to be a lot higher.
I don't know, and I'll also have that, the fixed versus variable sort of view. So I'll go through that, and I'll also do a chart in terms of percentage of, personnel costs, different types of costs within the budget.
Right.
Okay, other than that, if I take out this column, those two columns, is the board fine with my
Yep.
sending that off to the
Yes.
budget committee?
I'll
Nice
make a
job.
motion that we approve the draft budget of $4,890,270 to be sent to the budget committee.
Second?
Under discussion. At the very end of Public Works, line 862 and 863. Or 861 and 862, we still have the division of residential and commercial on this budget. Now, is that something we're going to continue with? I had heard some people saying about we should just lump it into one, or...
Yeah, last night, there was a discussion that some didn't know that.
Well, if we send it to the budget committee like this, that's one thing, but are we going to put it down like that in the town report?
That's the question.
Right.
I think that before we decide that, we need to see the page that's going to give us a good explanation
Of what it is.
Of our garbage business.
The
The garbage stuff.
Yeah.
Well, I can tell you
Tilton trash.
that
Yes, I am.
one easy way to look at this is that 212,000 is what we're anticipating the commercial haulers are going to do, and that's essentially a pass-through.
Right.
So that's really not costing us anything. What our garbage costs us is the 75,000 plus the 109,783.
Yep.
Not including what's in the revolving fund of the bags.
That's a
and
separate entity
collection.
altogether.
Right.
Well, but you got to include the household hazardous waste and the demo material removal, because that is part of our
It is, and it's listed.
trash removal from the town.
It's listed.
It's not part of, the household hazardous waste has nothing to do with our contract with the hauler
No.
that
No.
we use,
No,
but
and-
it's a cost of getting rid of trash.
Yeah, I guess I look at them as, what are we actually picking up on the street? In other
Right.
words, the curbside piece, but yeah, you're absolutely right, yep. So, was there,
I didn't vote yet. We need to vote.
Okay?
Hold on. Is there any more discussion? All those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
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 All right.
Okay, I will do that right now then. I'm also going to send out the November financial summary as well.
Okay.
Just keep in mind that the selectmen received the exception.
Yes, that's right.
I do note on there not only the overspent, but also the underspent items.
Right.
But just keep in mind that the December report, this has the most current, as of right now, expenses in this proposed budget.
Yes.
Whereas the financial summary report is as of November 30th.
Right.
So there's a difference.
Chief, you do know Wednesday night, it's budget. Yeah. The 11th, right? Yes, we do need you there.
That's,
And Tim's going to be there.
Yep.
Dennis will be there.
Try these.
And,
Those are really good.
all department heads.
Yeah, we'll be there.
Okay.
There's stuff right there in front of,
Catherine hasn't signed the payroll yet.
He's slacking.
well, you know, I try to pay attention to other conversations.
Want
I
to draw
didn't
a
have a
line through
chance
my
to do
name
it
and
today.
save the book adrift?
Do you want to do,
The payroll, Tim, do you want the payroll sheet?
still signing.
Oh, she's signing it, okay.
well, it's still in
she
2013.
has payroll. She's signing now. You have the payables, right? Okay. And we didn't have any non-public payables.
Sure. We did one for Owen.
Okay.
We did one
All
for
right.
Owen.
Yeah, remember since last night, 10:30. Yeah.
Okay, sir.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Yeah, because Bill never signed.
Catherine?
Oh, I know, Sandy already filled my gut with that. So I handed
Okay, well, it was organized by the PD, it was at the country club.
We gave him a gift.
PD did it.
No, we gave him a gift.
Yeah, we gave him a gift.
Cabela's.
Right.
Yeah, Cabela's, that's right.
Yeah. I thought you were talking about the party.
Going all right. I
Partay.
am so thrilled to be a
PD arranges that.
I want to make
Ryan
it
becoming Captain Ryan.
13 rather than 2014.
Well, not that he hasn't earned.
We need to come up with something because there's no obligation to pay. We can make a motion.
To see him
We don't have
a little more
anybody out there
dynamic,
saying you
but
owe me money.
The line between
No, but
good guys, dynamic,
we're
and
not encumbering it.
fine,
He's going to buy the gift.
especially as the cop with a
I don't
gun.
know.
You know?
So what are you gonna get him a gift?
And he treads it very nicely. He's a good guy.
Sense that everybody's a good idea. That
We need to
way,
make a motion.
No, we're still
before
in
he comes
session.
upstairs.
okay, well,
All right, we still have some business. Can you just sit down for a second?
To be signed for?
Yes.
Don't have to sit, do it.
well, we signed what we could, but some of that Joyce wants to go over.
I have one that I didn't sign, but I'm not gonna sign till, I wrote questions on the thing for
I
Joyce.
signed.
One of them I understood.
We have a retirement coming up, and I would rather do the gift out of 2013 money than out of 2014 money. So I'd like to make a motion, entertain a motion for, it was a gift card we gave.
It was a gift
All
card.
right. Make a motion.
Where?
We can do it somewhere else, because one we did for Owen was Cabela's. So we have to do somewhere else.
Visa card.
Yeah, just a Visa card, he can spend it wherever he wants.
Exactly.
That's what I'm saying.
Sounds good.
Just like he can buy gas, he can buy whatever.
Don't they charge you, you have to pay,
I don't know if there's a fee, and a lot of times those things are, because they charge the merchants 2.5% on
Yeah,
each
but
transaction.
I got a gift
Motion for
Visa
5.
card, and
For
they,
a gift
every
card
time I
period,
used
and then
it,
we'll
they
figure out what
charged me.
kind.
Oh, well, no, I don't want to go there at all.
I make a motion, we do a gift card for $500 to,
I think we should allow Tim to make that decision. If there's a fee for the Visa, if there's no fee for a Visa, we can do that.
Let's just make the motion to buy a $500 gift card, and we'll make a decision on where later.
Yeah.
that's the motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yes.
That's what we did for Owen. All right, we're going to take a few-minute break and see who's downstairs, and we can get them upstairs.
You know,
What we can,
are we adjourned?
we're taking...
Taking a 5-minute
No,
break.
we're just
No.
taking
Take a
a...
recess.
Recess.
We're recessing. I'm going to the teeter-totter myself, but Al's more of a swing kind of guy.
Hold on a second. There you go.
You ready? We're all set? Yep. I guess we're going to put our attention to the flags because we have a couple of ceremonies, a swearing in and a promotion. We're all set? Okay. Let's go. Okay, Officer Richard Ort.
Catherine, they want you over there.
No, they want you.
No, she was pointing at you. I
No,
think
they're pointing at you.
You have to wait. To the inhabitants of the town of Tilton in the county of Belknap in the state of New Hampshire, whereas there is a vacancy in the position of full-time patrol officer in the town of Tilton, and whereas we, the subscribers, have confidence in your ability and integrity to perform the duties of said office, do hereby appoint you, Richard Ort, to the position of full-time patrol officer for the town of Tilton, New Hampshire, which shall be effective as of December 9th, 2013. Whereas upon taking the oath of office and having this appointment and the certificate of said oath of office recorded by the Tilton Town Clerk, you shall have the powers, perform the duties, and be subject to the liability of such office until another person shall be chosen and qualified in your stead. So if you repeat after me, raise your right hand. I, Richard Ort,
I, Richard Ort,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully and impartially
I will faithfully and impartially
discharge and perform all the duties
discharge and perform all the duties
incumbent on me as a full-time patrol officer
incumbent upon me as a full-time patrol officer
for the town of Tilton, New Hampshire,
for the town of Tilton, New Hampshire,
according to the best of my abilities,
according to the best of my abilities,
agreeable to the rules
agreeable to the rules
and regulations of the United States Constitution
and regulations of the United States Constitution
and the laws of the state of New Hampshire.
and the laws of the city of New Hampshire.
So help me God. Val is going to sing his dad.
Hope you learn your bulletproof vest.
He's got it on.
Okay.
There you go. You do
Well,
it.
that little badge thing could be bad.
As long as it's close.
There you go.
Yay! Nice
Last resort is
Give you that the original.
Come on, change.
You with daddy in the cheek, okay?
I missed that in my truck.
Hi, Sophia. Nice to meet you. Yes, you're beautiful. I love you.
Mom, my red one.
Because it's born in 2 born.
Very nice.
the wire together.
Don't give me that emergency call thing.
I do what I do to Gabby.
Give me that.
Yeah.
Give me that.
This veg? Oh. I seen that
Look at
veg.
those shiny bars you've got on your car. I didn't think of it.
Stand over here, honey. This is a very proud moment for all of us, for the entire board. To the inhabitants of the town of Tilton in the county of Belknap and the state of New Hampshire, whereas there's a vacancy in the position of captain in the town of Tilton, and whereas we, the subscribers, have confidence in your ability and integrity to perform the duties of said office, do hereby appoint you, Ryan Martin, to the position of captain for the town of Tilton, New Hampshire, which shall be effective as of December 2nd, 2013. And whereas upon taking your oath of office and having the appointment and the certificate of said oath of office recorded by the Tilton Town Clerk, you shall have the powers to perform the duties and be subject to the liabilities of such office until another person shall be chosen and qualified in your stead.
Oh. Oh.
Ready for the oath?
Oh.
I, Ryan Martin. Do solemnly swear. That I will faithfully and impartially. Discharge and perform all the duties.
What's that?
Incumbent on me as captain. According to the best of my abilities. Agreeably to the rules and regulations. Of the United States Constitution. And the laws of the state of New Hampshire. So help me God. Congratulations.
You know who runs the house, so.
I wish I had my game.
You need a little water on
You did it. You did it. Captain Clark.
Head against his shoulder and she'd be...
Tiny little thing.
Now she's the life of the party. She's running that show. She's so proud. Exactly.
I've got this wonderful. You're great.
She wants to stay there, take more pictures. She is just adorable.
I like kids at that age.
We have one more. One more, please.
Save the best for last.
There you go.
You have to do that.
You get to come back for that.
This is a commendation. Let it be known that the citizens of Tilton on this occasion publicly recognize Lieutenant Richard Powell. Whereas Richard Powell started with the Tilton Police Department in July of 1986 as a patrol officer, and as a result of his exemplary job performance moved up through the ranks to lieutenant. And whereas he currently holds the distinction of being the longest serving member of the Tilton Police Department as well as the town of Tilton. And whereas having seen many changes in the department and throughout the town during all these years, he has always demonstrated a truly deep sense of duty, leadership, and genuine caring for the people of our community. Now therefore, on behalf of our citizens, the Board of Selectmen hereby commends Richard Hollis for his 28 years of dedicated service to the town of Tilton.
Oh, picture.
Do you want to put?
Boy, come on, Joe. Take out, no, take out. That's not your. You finally saw it.
Kevin's up front for a change. All right.
Very good.
That means,
We're done.
So close, and yet,
Bingo.
we're only recessed, we haven't adjourned.
Motion adjourned.
1, 2, 3. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
That's it.
That's it.
Got it.
You have enough.